To let you in on a wireless hack that can cut your cell phone bill in half. Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile want you to believe you need unlimited data. Fact is, most people don't. Pure Talk only charges you for data you need. For just $25 a month, get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data, plus mobile hotspot. Stop overpaying for wireless. Dial pound 250 and say Pure Talk to switch easily. And save 50% off your first month with Pure Talk.
The Morning Extra, only on Extra 106.3.
Good morning, y'all. It is the Morning Extra right here on Extra 106.3. It's Los, it's Rhino, and Joe Virgin River. No Tug this morning. He's a little under the weather. He'll be back with us on Monday. So, as we always point out, when it is Rhino and I, things can get a little bit strange, okay? Conspiratorial. We've lost our adult in the room. Dad has checked out for the morning.
True.
And so, I'm not going to make you any promises on etiquette or proper play or the fact that we may talk about some things that are a little strange, a little bit out there. It's just, this is what happens when it's just you and I.
Yeah, it's true. And you know what? Tug under the weather because he wished the worst on Kimmer. That's what I believe.
I think so. It's,
I think it's karma.
If you have missed the running of what's going on at the radio station the last several days, so we started a show by talking about Kimmer was going to have a dental procedure. Mm-hmm. Rhino and I, because we are Kimmer P1s and Kimmer fans, were very supportive. Tug made fun of him.
Yeah.
Kimmer ended up having to leave his show early with a lot of mouth pain. He was able to be back yesterday. But now you see, here's it coming back on you. This is karma. The karma police went ahead and got Tug last night.
They sure did. And, we hope Tug feels better because we would never do something the way he did to Kimmer like that. Because neither one of us want to, have a weekend where we're not feeling well because of that kind of karma.
I don't want to have to deal with that.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to hit fall break here,
Exactly.
And so I don't want to feel bad for like 2 or 3 days. I want to be able to hang out with the family. I don't want to, get out in the sun, have a good time. Now, unfortunately, because of what Tug brought on himself, now he's just having to lay in bed and sleep in till 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Poor guy.
Yeah, let's see. I think he ends up winning on that one.
We're sick too now.
Exactly. I feel terrible.
Guys, can someone else run the board today?
Yeah, thank you, Joe. I'm glad you got us all sick. We will be joined next hour by Carolyn Ryan. So much of this stuff is coming to a head of what we have going on here with the Georgia Voting Board and the Elections Board, and it's going to be fascinating. So that's going to be one of our big things that we're going to get into today. But I wanted to start right here because the Trump assassination attempts have been, first and foremost, such a huge deal in this country. We've had the discussion point of when are we ever going to get to the bottom of what happened in Pennsylvania, and are we going to have the state of Florida take over, at least getting a chance to investigate and look into things for themselves. So this is Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida. You know him, you love him. I want you to take a listen to this because he got out in front of the media yesterday and he talked about why the state of Florida is getting involved. And the problem is he feels like his office is being stonewalled.
No, they're not being cooperative. Yes, I am concerned. I mean, for example, we were rebuffed. Our investigators were rebuffed just going to the fence line outside of Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach. And so I think they've taken the position, they don't want the state of Florida to be involved in this. But here's the thing. There were multiple violations of Florida law across multiple jurisdictions. We think at least 3 judicial circuits, this guy, Ryan Routh, committed potential violations of Florida law. So we have a duty to investigate this. We have a duty to bring the appropriate charges, and we also have a duty to inform the public about how this happened. So I don't anticipate there being cooperative. I think that they've just taken that position, and I think that that's unfortunate because even though I've been very clear, state of Florida is going to do an investigation, I've not disputed their right to also investigate. It's the federal government. He was in their protective custody as a presidential candidate, but let us do this.
I don't care if it's politics. I'm just glad that he's involved in it.
Me too. This is why a lot of people loved Ron DeSantis and wanted him to be the presidential candidate. Unfortunately, he ran into Donald Trump and a momentum that you're not going to, and a movement that you're not going to be able to derail because the people love him so much. But Ron DeSantis is right there for me. And, the one thing I love about him is that he is not going to bow down to the federal government. The Secret Service is a complete mess, Carlos. They don't know what to do at this point. And I think that's why they're withholding information from Ron DeSantis. We had a whistleblower, and Josh Hawley yesterday asked the whistleblower who at one point protected President Trump at the same exact golf course in West Palm Beach, who said they knew that the fence line was a vulnerability. So that's probably why Ron DeSantis had to go back and say they're trying to keep us away from the fence line. I think that could be part of the reason.
Well, consider that the federal government cannot charge somebody with attempted murder. Okay, that's just not something that is in their purview. The state of Florida can. And so that is why oftentimes we talk about how the system protects the system. And what you have is a federal government that is looking over at a wacko leftist loony and going, you know what? Maybe not the worst thing in the world. Kind of looking forward to this. Kind of respect the fact that this guy decided to do what he decided to do. The state of Florida is saying, no, we're not having it. And so these are competing factions with one another in order to prosecute somebody and get to the bottom of not just what motivated you to do this, but maybe we can start learning about what might have set this off so we can start looking for these markers in the future, because this isn't going away.
No, this isn't going away. And if Donald Trump wins, I think everybody understands 4 years, they're going to have to protect him more than they ever have. And I like that you brought up the federal government and what their role is and what they could charge people with, because that's what Ron DeSantis went with. They know what the rules and the laws that Ryan Ruth broke. And when Ryan Ruth broke federal law, that's one thing. But when he broke Florida law, Ashley Moody, the attorney general, is going to be able to make the decision. The DAs are going to be able to make the decision. And so is Ron DeSantis. They're going to be able to look at everything that is Florida law and say, this is what we're charging with while we're in my state. That's why it's so important to have that separation of state from your federal government.
And we'll know more as this investigation continues, because remember, this just happened on Sunday afternoon. We're not even 7 days away from another assassination attempt, and it feels like it's been memory holed out of existence. Nobody talks about it anymore. We're the only ones that are still bringing it up and the implications of what it means moving forward. But I am hopeful, because no one ended up being hurt, no one ended up being killed. Man, I hope that Looney Tune fired off at least one shot so that you can go attempted murder. Yeah. Because it doesn't matter who he shot at. Yeah. That's just the way of how our laws work. And so at that point, you can throw the book at this person, this 58-year-old who his son, as he pointed out, well, he hates Donald Trump like any other normal person does.
Yeah, that's the weird part about it. See, this is more than just Donald Trump. I know that the left is like, hey, you know what? We were kind of hoping for a different result, but we're not going to cover the fact that someone tried to kill him. But the disgusting part to me is that in Butler, Pennsylvania, we still haven't gotten an answer. And we have a hero in Corey Comparatori who is dead. We lost American citizens because of the failure of the U.S. Secret Service, and I'm not going to say local police, but other police forces that did not do the job. Department of Homeland Security, apparently, that was involved in this as well. So we're talking about American lives that were lost, and we're also talking about people who were injured, innocent citizens who were just going to see Donald Trump. So there's more to this story than just about the assassination of Donald Trump. There's a loss of life that I think needs to be investigated, and I think it should be fully out there in the open and transparent.
I am always curious as to who is with us at 6 o'clock in the morning, whoever joins the show, 404-741-1230. I'm not telling you that I'm going to give you a Joe Virgin River glossy photo that happens to be signed, but
on a bearskin rug.
On a bearskin rug. He's wearing his
my mankini.
Tug won't even let us call it a sailor costume.
I know.
Even though if you wear it or I wear it, it's a costume.
Yes.
It's a uniform for Tug.
Wow.
I'm just saying that if you happen to be by the channel and you just want to check in and let Joe Virgin know that you're listening, I'm just kind of curious to know who is out there. Let's talk about this as well as we continue the Morning Extra right here on Extra 106.3. I love how you put this last night. How if you want to talk about the states where things are going to matter, obviously North Carolina is going to be something we have to pay attention to. Pennsylvania is going to play a large role in this upcoming election. But Georgia, right there with you. This is going to be, as early voting is around the corner, If you want to win this thing, if you want to beat back these evil people, if you want to deal with their insanity, it starts at the ballot box. And if you want to do it, you got to do it the right way.
Yeah, I mean, Pennsylvania and North Carolina are close, and those two, we don't know where they're going to go. I think a lot of people just assume that Georgia is a red state and Donald Trump's going to win it. But Kamala Harris is here for a reason today. She's going to lie about some things that happened to a poor woman who lost her life, and we lost 5 beautiful people that live in the state of Georgia because of an abortion pill. Now, she's going to roll this back to be something else, but the fact of the matter on that, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, is that these women unfortunately passed away. She is going to use that to try to win the state of Georgia, and she's coming to Atlanta today to do that because she knows this is one of, and if not, probably the most important state. She has to win these 3 states. Doesn't matter about Michigan, and it doesn't matter about Wisconsin. You go ahead and give her those 2 states. If she doesn't get Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and most importantly, Georgia, she needs those electoral votes. Otherwise, she can't win that electoral map.
Well, she's banking on something that's not as representative in Wisconsin or in Michigan. She is banking on a black population that will get behind her and go, look, we're going for Kamala Harris. The problem is, and it still continues to be the same sort of stuff, young black men are not voting for her. They have the numbers on black men 18 to 49. It's ridiculous the amount that have jumped ship when it comes to backing her and the Democrat Party. We're talking about, when you would look at numbers overall, it was typically right around 93%. It looks closer to about 70%. So that's a monster jump. We even had the numbers yesterday when we saw that Kamala Harris was leading Donald Trump in the state of New York by 13 points. And people went, wow, that's a pretty healthy lead. It was 23 points with Joe Biden led in 4 years ago. So she's losing half of the lead across all of these states.
Yeah, that's going to be a big concern for her. I think Arizona and Nevada are going to be very pivotal in this as well. Now, if she did win Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, and Arizona, and she could feel good, but it's not enough. They aren't as important as Pennsylvania. And if she loses Pennsylvania, then she's got to win 2 of those other states, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Nevada, and Arizona. She's got to win 2 of those. And right now, Arizona and Nevada, they don't look great for her. Now, if Donald Trump were to take all 3, it's over. He wins.
Yeah, it's over with. The math,
Pennsylvania,
the math
Georgia,
works.
North Carolina. Yeah, he wins.
Yeah, the math ends up playing out where, and I believe if we just want to go with the AJC poll from earlier this week, that Donald Trump was up in the state of Georgia by 3. I believe you're going to see that closer to 5 or 6 by the time that we get to Election Day. But that's what they have been prognosticating is what the lead is going to be here. This is one of those states where there's a reason why she continues to come back here. She feels like being that she can make some inroads here, and now she's going to play the abortion game here, which, again, you are just trying to now tug on the heartstrings of women. And I will tell you, I got out into the wild yesterday.
Yeah.
I did hear from a couple of crazy women where abortion, this woman that I was talking with had to be late 50s, early 60s. Ain't nobody putting a baby in there, and no baby's growing, yet she kept talking about abortion. And I was like, this is the sort of crazy that comes out of some of these these Aunt Peggy's out there.
Yeah, but they know that this plays well. I mean, you see it today, and it's going to be a big story today with Kamala Harris coming into the state. You've got all the Democrats lining behind this, but this is an emotional thing they think they can win Georgia with. We need to get the facts out there that this had nothing to do with our heartbeat bill. And I'm kind of embarrassed that, some of the leaders aren't doing a good job actually exposing why the abortion pill and giving it over the counter is so dangerous. They talk about preventable deaths when it comes to it, and they're going to get the emotion behind it. And I think it does drive a lot of people. I mean, you're going to get Atlanta, you're going to get Macon, you're going to get Columbus to kind of be a little bit more purple. I think it's redder than it was in 2020. And then, of course, Savannah is one of the big areas that Kamala Harris is going to focus on. And that's what they're going to do. They're not going to come and, just like on Oprah's little thing last night, their little celebration party, their little Hollywood gathering for Kamala Harris. She has no answer on the economy, and that's going to be a huge problem for her if she can't pull on the heartstrings. And like you said, 50, 60-year-old women, they're not going to look into this. They're not going to actually see that it's Democrat policies that took away 5 members of this Georgia family that we have here. These are pregnancies that these weren't vulnerable fetuses. These were twins that were perfectly healthy and well to go, and another woman who was a little bit older who got pregnant. If you want to talk about preventable death, then let's talk about personal responsibility and saying, hey, this is what I want in my future, so I'm going to make sure I don't get pregnant, but we don't talk about it in that way. And then we don't talk about, they passed a law that says you can get the abortion pill from Amazon. You can order it. And in one of these situations, the woman ordered it over line, never talked to a doctor, took it, the fetus broke apart, and the woman died from complications of that, not because she was denied medical care. So we need to get the truth out there. And I think it's important that we start talking to people the way you did with that woman, but we also need to be out talking to people saying, hey, we got to vote and keep these liars out of office.
Well, I recognize by the time I was done with my conversation, and I'll get into more detail later in the show, you'll be by the channel, you'll get a chance to hear this sort of stuff. I realize there's some people that you can help. There's other people that you just have to make them feel very stupid for what they think. Now, I was not trying to do that. I'm telling you, just flat out, I was not trying to make that person feel stupid. But the fact that their head was spinning in the way that it was, I saw that as a small victory for myself. Similar to what the Americans who were trying to ask Kamala Harris questions last night, such as, what do you intend to do to lower the cost of goods and services? That woman tried to do it again. She went word salad-y again, and every single time she does, it's beautiful, okay?
Yeah.
It is so wonderful when she has to explain any of her policies because they are so make-a-believe.
Yeah.
You can't do it. Very simply, if you were to say, well, I'm going to put price controls on things, okay, that doesn't help, that doesn't work, and then people freak out because they go, that's pretty communist in nature.
But you came out with telling us that price control was a good idea. But yesterday in your word salad, when you were asked, what are you going to do to lower prices? You went through an entire rant, again, about being a middle-class person, blah, blah, blah. And your ending statement was all about, we got to lower prices. Hold on. We asked you the question, what are you going to do to lower prices? And your answer at the end was, well, we got to lower grocery prices. That's just, there's nothing there.
She was asked about the ability to lower the cost of living and lowering the cost of necessities. And here's when you know somebody has a problem in terms of being able to be honest and being able to say things. When somebody reiterates the last thing you said, like if Joe Virgin River was to suddenly go, the last thing you said, and then starts talking, that's just because they're trying to stall to get a second to think about what they're going to say. Mm-hmm. And so she ends up pointing out in her answer, we need to deal with that. And there are a number of ways. One is bringing down the cost of everyday necessities, including groceries. She just basically said...
She rephrased it.
Exactly what the people asked her.
Yeah.
Without answering. It's so wonderful. We've got...
Carlos just said it's so wonderful.
We have a few more weeks. We have about 7 more weeks of this. And the more... Oprah didn't do her any favors.
No.
That's the thing.
No, it made it look like an inside elite party. That's what I saw. You
put her on television knowing that this woman very much struggles when it comes to giving answers on television. All right, it is the Morning Xtra on Xtra 106.3. When we get back, we will get to headlines and also... the impossible is happening on the likability factor for one Donald Trump. We'll talk about that next when we continue the Morning Xtra right here on Xtra 106.3 FM.
Xtra 106.3 is the only station in Atlanta to bring you unedited news, information, and updates. With an all-star lineup of local and network voices, Xtra is committed to being the station you need during the biggest election of our lifetime.
This presidential election is unlike any other.
Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station is Xtra 106.3 FM, and listen across Georgia on the Xtra app.
Lee Brandt Jewelry and Watch Company, where quality and value make the difference. Locally owned and located in Sandy Springs, offering you the finest selection of unique diamonds, sapphires, rubies, and emerald jewelry, as well as other fine gemstones. Lee Brandt Jewelry and Watches has been servicing Rolex watches for over 30 years, and their Rolex-trained watchmaker will service your watch in their state-of-the-art Rolex service center in their store. Lee Brandt uses only genuine Rolex parts, and their estimates are free. Drop by Lee Brandt in the Trader Joe's Shopping Center in Sandy Springs or visit LeeBrandt.com.
Neil Borch here. Maybe you've already taken the steps to improve your health, maybe save your life. You're using a CPAP for your sleep apnea. I've been using one for well over 20 years. So right now I'm here to tell you about a source for CPAPs and CPAP supplies here in the Atlanta area. CPAPs, etc. They're in Alpharetta. They have whatever you need. Roddy and Sharon are your CPAP experts, and they'll ship nationwide. More information, cpapsetc.com.
Election season is here, and regardless of which side of the aisle you're on, we can all experience the stress of uncertainty. Fear of the unknown can cause us to postpone important decisions that impact our lives, especially in retirement planning. Resist hesitation and contact Masterplan Retirement Consultants, a holistic retirement planning firm dedicated to creating a retirement plan to help with all of life's surprises. Through income planning and money management, legacy planning, and tax planning, we create a plan specifically designed for your life to see you to and through retirement. Don't leave your retirement up to chance. Create a plan for your retirement and pursue peace of mind. Visit masterplanretire.com. Masterplan Retirement Consultants. Plan well and prosper.
Advisory services offered through Masterplan Retirement Consultants Inc., a registered investment advisory in the state of Georgia. Insurance, tax, and commodity services offered through Fricks & Associates Inc., DBA Masterplan Retirement Consultants. The aforementioned are affiliated companies.
Are you the type of consumer that likes to do your research before you choose a company? Well, then you need to join Dan Watkins, Chris Lolamy, and myself, Jim Niarchos, every Saturday morning at 9 for the All Four Seasons Home Show. We only vet local businesses with a proven history of integrity, competence, and solid customer service. The All Four Seasons Home Show helps you make a good consumer decision, save money, and not get ripped off. You can also follow our podcasts on Apple, Google, and Spotify. The All Four Seasons Home Show, Saturday mornings at 9, right here on Extra 106.3.
My name is Jamie High, and I have worked for Bruce Hagen for 14 years. Why do I work for Bruce? Because he truly cares. He cares about me, he cares about my family, and he cares about each and every one of his clients. Family is important to him, and he never makes me choose between my family and work. He values me as an employee, but also as a person. At our firm, we are all family, and I wouldn't want it any other way. I am Jamie, and I've worked for Bruce Hagen for 14 years because he's the best. Hagen-law.com.
Georgia Tech is one of the top teams in the ACC.
House call! Touchdown Jackets!
And they get a huge conference battle on the road this Saturday as they roll into Kentucky to take on Louisville.
Slip through. Oh, and he's gone. 20, 15, 5. House call. Jamal Haynes.
It's two of the ACC's best, and the Ramblin' Wreck Kickoff Show hits the air 2 hours before the game, right here on the Georgia Tech Sports Network.
Millions of guys suffer from erectile dysfunction. That's 1 in 4 men. And I can tell you, I'm one of them.
If you or someone you know suffer from ED, Peyronie's disease, or PE, here's 38-year emergency room doctor and founder of Total Body Therapy of Georgia, Dr. Eric Deal.
Patients who enter my office are often frustrated, hopeless, depressed, and embarrassed. I understand the problem, and I'm going to help you fix it. There are lots of competitors that don't have the credentials that I have. When you go to other clinics, you're not going to see a board-certified physician with the experience that I have. When you come to our clinic, you're going to see me. There's just not one therapy that can solve these complex issues. I'll do a complete history and physical prior to any treatment that we use. Take it from me, Dr. Deal. When it's not hard, it's really hard.
Call Dr. Deal for your free one-on-one evaluation and resolve your ED, Peyronie's, or PE issues. Total Body Therapy of Georgia, 404-777-1911, 404-777-1911, online at stopmyed.com.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Friday, September 20th. Vice President Kamala Harris will be making a campaign stop in Atlanta today to discuss women's health and reproductive rights. The visit comes after 2 women died from complications related to the abortion pill. The women who were carrying healthy pregnancies took over-the-counter abortion prescription pills without a doctor's care and died due to complications. 27-year-old Edward Huffman III is being charged with raping at least 7 women and at least 1 child. Clayton County investigators are calling Huffman a serial rapist and say detectives learned that Huffman drugged his victims and then raped, sodomized, and performed a number of degrading acts on the women before posting the videos on a porn site as sleep porn. Police say there may be more victims out there. Huffman was denied bond by a Clayton County judge. And in sports, Matt Olson homered twice, and Chris Sale won his major league leading 18th game as the Braves beat the Cincinnati Reds 15-3 yesterday. The Braves remain 2 games behind the New York Mets for the final wildcard spot. They will try to extend their 2-game win streak tonight when they take on the Miami Marlins. Charlie Morton will be on the mound for the Braves with the first pitch scheduled for 7:10. You can catch all the action tonight on our sister station, 680 The Fan.
When I read this poll, I was trying to make heads or tails of it, and usually I can't. I struggle with math. I struggle with all the things that go into polling. I have a hard time with. So what did I do? Immediately, I sent it to front office Los, and he's narrowed it down this morning to the one specific thing that is a challenge for Kamala Harris.
Donald Trump's favorability continues to go up.
Yeah.
And hers does not.
Continues to fall. In fact, if you just want to consider like a person like Kathy Hochul, who's obviously has what she's going on in New York as a governor, her favorability is now below Donald Trump's. The more that Donald Trump is getting out on the road, and I think the assassination attempts do have a thing to play in there. The lawfare has something to play in there. But you have this person who's basically saying, I'm ready to be the dad in the room. I'm going to tell you the truth. Here's what we're going to do about it. And our better days are coming. Whereas Kamala Harris is trying to say the same things, but with no clarity and no vision.
There's no substance in it.
And so what you're seeing now in this Gallup polling is for Donald Trump to be at 46%, you say, well, that's under 50. Understand that Kamala Harris is basically mimicking what Joe Biden was in the 30s now.
Yeah.
It's wild to see. It's what I would describe it as. We are watching the impossible. That 4 years ago we looked at Donald Trump as dead and buried, and he's now, as a favorability standpoint and an election standpoint, the odds-on favorite to be president again.
Don't use dead and buried.
Yeah, it's probably politically dead and buried.
Yeah.
Politically.
Not a good time to use dead and buried.
But Joe, by the way, and even when he is elected, we're going to have like the next giant fight on our hands because I'm fairly certain that Congress will do everything they can to not certify the election. But that's a fight for another day.
Sure.
But politically, this man was not going to ever hold office again. And favorability, he's now the person who's most liked who's running for president.
Yeah, the likability is ridiculously off the charts for him compared to Kamala Harris, and especially even with her own groups that she sits and panders to, even they don't like her. And that's why she was unable to run in 2020. That's why they removed her and made sure that, look, nobody voted for her. Nobody liked her then. She never polled well there. How she got into the position she is in today would lead you to ask, well, it's obvious that she was installed into this because they couldn't get her elected. There is no way if she were to go through, and this is why they canceled the open primary. They knew she wasn't likable. Right. They knew that she wouldn't be a favorite. They knew she couldn't even win an open primary if anybody were to stand. Gretchen Whitmer had to stand back. She would have beat her like a drum. Gavin Newsom would have beat her like a drum. There is no way people can sit and justify and say she's a likable person.
There is something to being invented rather than elected.
Yeah,
that's right.
And that's essentially what happened. And give credit to Joe Biden. He's the one who caused all this. He's the one who, when he decided to sign off on a Sunday and was like, and Kamala Harris, she's going to be the one. And everyone fell in line with the, oh, okay, well, that's what Joe wants to do. Joe did that as a giant middle finger to his party.
And it's interesting, too, because the left would tell you Donald Trump is invented. He actually addressed that on Gutfeld last night when he talks about how he was going to run for president, and the folks at NBC tried to talk him out of it because they wanted him to sign a 5-year deal to continue doing The Apprentice, which was, such a successful show. And Democrats will tell you, well, he was a social media star. He was a movie star. That's the reason he was invented. And you're seeing the exact opposite of that. When he was on Gutfeld, he came off as so likable, so relatable, so funny, just a regular dude. And he's not. He's a billionaire. And he's got so many skeletons in his closet, it's not even funny. It's not the point. The point is, everybody does. You do, I do, everybody does. Point to the one without sin, and then you cast the stone.
He did talk about on Gutfeld last night. Kamala Harris can't go on that show because she'd have to think on her feet. She'd have to jump from one foot to the next. We've seen every interview opportunity, and the National Association of Black Journalists, when they were just trying to ask, and by the way, they set up where here are softballs, here's three people. And she even turned that into word salad confusion. Like, she couldn't wait to get off that stage, and you think you're going to do okay on Gutfeld? No chance.
They gave her, look, every single one of those people up there were given the questions to ask her, and she still failed. Like, how ridiculous is it? And absolutely, people do not buy into her. The one thing that got me yesterday was one of the local news stations, an NBC station, fact-checked her. And I was like, oh, my God.
What is happening?
And they actually went to the $35 insulin that Donald Trump signed an executive order on the Schedule D for seniors and lowered the cost to $35, which, of course, Democrats went and overturned and made sure that would never get done so that they could use it. And then what does Joe Biden do with Donald Trump? Signs it in and takes credit for it. They brought that up, and I was like, wow, an NBC station actually doing it? Then they talked about all the other things she said that were complete lies. And I think a lot of people are starting to listen, and when they go, and they're going to sit and back her quietly, they're going to be like, yeah, she's right about Project 2025, but in the back of their head, they know their lies, and that's her base. Other people, the independents and everybody else outside, they're going, yeah, she lies way too much. She outlies everybody.
It's pretty impressive.
Everything she says a lie.
I don't know how to take her, to be honest. I mean, obviously,
for what she is.
Yeah, well, right,
a liar.
But what I mean is she just as corrupt as that I kind of think she is? Is she just a person that they've put in this position and has no business being in the position to begin with? Or is there anything in there? You know, I mean, that's the question I really have. Is there anything in there? Is it because she doesn't know what's going on? And you know, it's like trying to take an idea. We've discussed it before. You try to take an idea and present it your own. There's nothing behind it, so you can't explain it. I feel like there's a lot of that, but I wonder if there's anything in there. If she were to sit down, does she always put up the fake defenders, the defense that she has? That maybe it's that weird cackle. That's because she's so uncomfortable. Like, Trump is able to sit down and have a talk. It doesn't matter what you're talking about, anything, whatever the subject. Can she do that in any situation?
I think if she was from Nebraska, she would never be elected.
No. Yeah, right. Because people talk about real things there.
I mean, you're from a state in which you create make-a-believe. That's part of it. And so much of her facade is make-a-believe of here's who I am, here's what I stand for. And then the more power that she accumulates, the more people will decide to vote for her because, well, hey, look what she's been able to do. When it comes right down to it, she is a very progressive, liberal, communist Democrat from San Francisco.
But even when you talk about, I was raised in a middle-class family, so was I.
So was right. And was she really? I mean, listen, she went to one of the most elite schools in Canada because her family.
But I guess my point is,
two professors at that level, one of them a neuroscientist doctor, that is a middle-class person rather than a upper, or
but that's the
wealthy.
Point. I know some wealthy folks. I mean, like, they've done incredibly well. A family that I go to church with, dude, they got more money than anybody I've ever met in my whole life. But they can talk to me about the kids and what they're doing, what's going on with school.
They don't have things to hide.
They're engaged, right? I guess that's it.
They probably don't have things to hide.
She can't even talk about her family and come off genuine
because when you lie so much. The reality of it is this. She was installed for a reason. She is a puppet. This is what the regime does. And they know the honest truth. Same thing as Joe Biden. She obviously has something to hide, and they know all about it, so they will put her in a position to do all of their bidding. She has to be very careful with what she says so she doesn't get sacked the way they did her boss, Joe Biden. They're going to do the same to her if she goes against what they say. She's nervous because she doesn't want to expose herself for what she is, a communist, a socialist, a Marxist like her father. So you have to throw out things like the children of our community are the children of our community. You have to throw out socialist ideas like, we're going to fight these corporations and price gouging. I'm going to price control. Oh, wait, I can't say price control. So in her mind, she's going, price gouging, price gouging. She has to think about the words she says because she's not good enough, like a Barack Obama, to really suck you in the way he did.
Morning Xtra and Xtra 1063. Final thought?
When you lack authenticity, which is always going to be the case, it's hard to explain yourself. Because you're always using somebody else's opinion, something that you were told to say, and yet since it's not your own, it's very hard to explain it. That's why, in my opinion, she talks in such weird word salads where she can't ever land the plane. She's constantly talking about, well, the children of this, and we be, and just working around things without ever getting to the real hardcore point of what do you intend to do if given this entire amount of power?
Because she can't. Because it's going
to
tell what first she doesn't know it, and then secondly, what she does know is we're going to become more socialist, more communist, because that's who I am. Is what I believe.
When she brought up that we're going to have a child care tax credit, and she's proposing $6,000 towards a child tax credit, and she's like, so that way you can buy a crib and you can buy. I'm like, hold on a second, baby girl. Any parent knows that any child tax credit is not useful in the moment when you're trying to get this stuff. It's like no one buys a crib a year after they've had a kid.
This is exactly right. It's so dumb. It is so dumb. But again, she has no idea. Secret Service told the local police in Butler they'd take care of the building that crooks used to shoot from. So they didn't have experienced agent on ground or any experienced agents on ground. There was more Homeland Security guys there that took a webinar that didn't work. They didn't pick up on the communication devices that were provided, and they didn't take care of the building that he shot from. Yet they told the local police, Rhino, we got that.
And you want to know why we don't trust the FBI and their partisan guy down in Miami to do the investigation over the second assassination attempt? It's because we never got the truth about the first one. When we look, they actually had a drone at the second one, so they kind of did something a little bit different. Didn't help, obviously, but when we heard about all the stories in the first one, we were told one story, and then now the FBI and the Secret Service are going, oh, well, yeah, no, you're right about this, you're right about that, no, we didn't do this correct. And now what we're trying to find out, when they said, well, the locals are going to secure the top. They were supposed to secure that. They were supposed to do this. They were supposed to do that. And the locals now have everything that, including emails, including body cam footage, and all this information that the Secret Service told the locals, we got this covered. It's fine. Don't worry about the rooftop. We got it. Don't worry.
Yeah, and we see how that turned out.
It is the Morning Extra right here on Extra 106.3. Los and Rhino taking you up until 10 a.m. this morning. When we get back, some testimony about the real border security going on in this country. Talk about that next. We continue the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3 FM.
Kamala Harris wants to control prices at grocery stores. Will grocery stores soon be run by unions?
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
You know Diamonds Direct for their exquisite diamonds and fine jewelry. What about luxury watches? With a hand-picked collection by the industry's top timepiece experts, skip the waiting list and get the timepiece you've been eyeing right away. And this month only, enjoy 0% interest for 5 years on all the top brands. Imagine owning a $15,000 luxury watch for just $250 a month. Spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest on approved credit. Diamonds Direct, where you can shop direct for diamonds and watches.
As an official community partner of the Atlanta Braves and the Atlanta Braves Foundation, the Warrior Alliance connects warriors and their families to free services such as health and wellness, housing, employment, education, legal services, and so much more. We need your financial support to increase our impact and change thousands of lives for those who served in the U.S. Armed Forces. It takes more than just thank you for your service. Make a donation to help warriors navigate to success after service. Go to thewarrioralliance.org/donate and make a difference today.
Have you heard about Sonder and their Georgia-based Medicare Advantage health plans? Sonder Health Plans is committed to revolutionizing healthcare, making it straightforward, personal, and affordable. Call them and ask if you qualify for their fantastic $400 grocery card offer and $0 premiums. They've even got their own radio show and podcast called Weekend Wellness, dedicated to keeping all Georgians healthy and happy at every age. Call 800-331-2928 or visit SonderHealthPlans.com. Sonder Health Plans is an HMO with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in Sonder Health Plans depends on contract renewal.
Have you considered securing your family's future? Protecting your hard-earned assets, navigating complex legal matters with ease. Nelson Elder Care Law is here to guide and empower you and your loved ones. As a family-owned and family-focused business, our mission is to exceed your expectations, offering absolute assurance and peace of mind. With our trademark Absolute Protection Trust and expertise in customized estate planning, Medicaid crisis solutions, probate administration, guardianship, and conservatorship, Nelson Elder Care Law protects what matters most to you. Imagine a team dedicated to safeguarding your legacy every step of the way. Our flat fees ensure transparency, and our customized plans prioritize your family's specific needs. Are you worried about protecting your family and your legacy after you're gone? Let us help you ensure you are absolutely protected from whatever curveballs life may throw your way. Schedule a complimentary legacy planning meeting with our legal team in Marietta or Woodstock today. Contact us at 678-250-9355 or visit NelsonElderCareLaw.com.
You have enough to deal with after an accident. You don't want to spend a lot of that time messing around with insurance companies. Besides, what are you going to say to them? You really know the ins and outs? David Van Sant at Van Sant Law does. He used to work for the insurance companies. Their worst nightmare. He knows who to call, what to say, how to listen to them, and he has your best interest at heart. Van Sant Law, 855-GA-INJURY. VanSantLaw.com, 855-GA-INJURY.
When a woman experiences an unplanned pregnancy, she often feels alone and afraid. So many times her first response is to seek out an abortion. But because of the generosity of listeners like you, that search may lead her to a preborn network clinic where she'll choose life, not just for her baby, but for herself. Preborn offers God's love and compassion to hurting women and then provides a free ultrasound to introduce them to the life growing inside them. This combination brings the ultimate miracle of life to life, which is why Preborn saves 200 babies every single day.
That changed my life. Just from that ultrasound picture, I'm going to keep my baby, and I'm going to keep growing, and I'm going to be a great mom.
Your tax-deductible donation of $28 sponsors one ultrasound. And now through a match, your gift is doubled, saving twice as many babies. How many babies can you save? Please donate. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword baby. Pound 250, keyword baby, or go to preborn.com/Beck. Preborn.com/Beck. Sponsored by Preborn.
Look, sometimes we all need to step away for a few, especially after too much of this. So Extra 106.3 is hooking up the golfers with 6 rounds of golf all on one card. It's Extra 106.3 on the Fans Green Card.
Not the kind of green card you're thinking.
But instead, it's your free pass to a round of golf with a card at Mystery Valley Golf Club, Stone Mountain Golf Club, Sequoia National, Country Club of Gwinnett, Cherokee Run Golf Club, and Heritage Golf Links. All on one card for just $249. But grab yours now because they'll sell out fast at Extra1063.com. Election coverage is more than polls and numbers. It's about what matters in your life and your community. And Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station cares about your community, your voice, and most importantly, your vote. So keep it all here for the latest and download the Extra 106.3 app and keep up with Atlanta's only conservative voice.
Happy Friday from the Morning Extra. Extra 106.3. It's Los, it's Rhino, no Tug today. He's a little under the weather. He'll be back on Monday. I, however, will not be. because we hit fall break, man. Like for those of you in Forsyth County and a couple of other counties around, you know how it goes.
Cobb
the kids
County.
are off. Yeah. So you got to figure out what to do with them for a while. So we're going to do the escape to Florida, hang out for a few days and get back. And in fact, even tonight is the trip over to Athens because we have our volleyball team going to go watch Georgia and Georgia Tech play. Every year, depending on where they're at, we will go. We just decided this year, it's like we've never gone to Athens to watch a match. We always watch them at Tech.
That's fun.
This time around, we'll go and check that out. So it should be a fun evening, getting a chance to let the girls kind of do their thing. What was not so much fun yesterday was the testimony that we had in the house from Aaron Heinke. Now, this man is the former chief border patrol officer. He is since retired, but he came forward to give testimony as to what has gone on over the last 4 years when the Biden and Harris administration have been in charge of the border. Keep in mind, Kamala Harris is the border czar, right? Well, sorry. Early on when we started this entire process of her running for office, they tried to memory hold that one, like she was never the border czar. Yes, I know it's a mess, but she was never the border czar. She was the border czar. All right, I want you to take a listen to this. About 90 seconds worth of audio. Take a listen to what this man starts describing about what this administration's plan was for the border and what they allowed to go on during their watch.
In San Diego, we had an exponential increase in significant interest aliens. These are aliens with significant ties to terrorism. Prior to this administration, the San Diego sector averaged 10 to 15 SIA arrests per year. Once word was out the border was far easier to cross, San Diego went to over 100 SIAs in 2022, well over that in 2023, and even more than that registered this year. These are only the ones we caught. At the time, I was told I could not release any information on this increase in SIAs or mention any of the arrests. The administration was trying to convince the public there was no threat at the border. Fentanyl is another issue. The San Diego area sees between 80 and 90% of the methamphetamine and fentanyl seizures annually for our entire country. With little enforcement at the border, these drugs were coming through in mass. During my last year in San Diego, the price for a single pill of fentanyl, for example, went from $10 to 25 cents. To make matters worse, during 2022 and 23, I had to shut down San Diego traffic checkpoints, which are critical for drug interdiction, because the resources had been diverted to the process and release mission. The large numbers also had and still have a negative impact on the San Diego community. I had to release illegal aliens by the hundreds each day into communities who could not support them. To quiet the problem, 2 flights a week were provided from San Diego to Texas. These flights simply brought aliens that would have been released in San Diego over to Texas. Each flight cost approximately $150,000. This was the administration's way to try and quiet the border-wide crisis.
Oof. How is that for gross? Yeah. As you have Kamala Harris getting together with Oprah to talk about how great she's been for the border and how great she's going to be for this country and what she plans to do. What did she do with 3.5 years along with Joe Biden? That's what they were doing.
Yeah, they were finding ways to bring people in to vote for them. I mean, that's the base of what they've tried to do. And they have a lot of things that they've done. And, San Diego's one area, Arizona, obviously, and Texas are probably a little bit more in focus because that's where most of them are coming across. But we now know that over 530,000 of them never even went to the border. They were just flown in, and they have secret ways of doing that. And that's the important part. Yesterday, I felt it. I watched a lot of the hearing on immigration and the border. And, of course, Democrats distracted from that, never talked about the border, and went on to vilify Donald Trump and talk about Project 2025 because they don't want to talk about what's happening at the border. They don't want to talk about the Custom Border Patrol One app that's allowing 1,450 migrants. They make an appointment, they get to the port of entry, and they're rushed through while others are standing there. And the reason they rush them through is so they don't have to do the DNA testing they're supposed to do. They don't have to do the vetting process. The other thing they've been doing is they have the parole process for Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans. And under that program, all you have to do is find a sponsor in the United States. Could be any family member that came here illegally. You get authorization. You never have to head to the border. You can, in fact, get on a train, a plane, or get in an automobile and just drive right through. No big deal.
And many of it taxpayer funded.
It's all taxpayer funded. Yeah, most of it. I think a majority of it it is. I haven't seen any other program that's chipped in and been like, yeah, we're helping out. But the reality of it is this: they're not flying like right to Texas. They're flying to places like Springfield, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Ohio, and all these areas.
Yeah, they're being dumped into smaller communities that realistically, first off, they typically, vote Republican. The next thing is, and probably the bigger issue that goes on, is that there's so many of them into these smaller communities that they immediately put just incredible strain on the economic policies and the economic abilities of these communities. If you have a community of, let's say, 3,000 people, just small town America, 3,000 people, it reaches an equilibrium where, you know what, there's going to be some people in that town that have some money, there's going to be people that have a little bit of money, and there's going to be people that don't have a whole lot of money, but that's the small town. What happens when you drop 1,000 people that don't have any money in there?
Yeah.
It completely changes the economic scenarios of that place. It totally changes the makeup of it. And so that's one of the things that we're downplaying. In every single small town we bring this up in, and you see the carnage and the mayhem that goes on, Democrats all tell you the same thing. Well, you're just being racist for pointing it out.
Yeah, they don't want to talk about the truth and why this program is really taking away from people in this country. It doesn't matter what race, Americans, just Americans in general. And when the Custom Border Patrol tells you that 530,000 have already gotten through, never vetted, never DNA test, nothing was done. They just get flown through on this special program and they get thrown in. 813,000 more. Carlos, 813,000 more have scheduled appointments to be able to fly into this country without being vetted again. So now we're looking at over with 500,000, you
another 500,000 to go with another one.
Yeah,
you're
so now you're
at
like
1.7, 1.8 million is what you started going with the numbers.
And that doesn't count the ones that will come through the border with the app, which is another 50,000.
See, this is the issue that you have. You will always have the left trying to play on your emotions. And for somebody like, let's say, Tug Coward, who's not here this morning, but Tug is as good of a person as there is. He realizes he has faults, but he realizes also with his Christianity, he wants to welcome people and he wants to try and do as much good for as many people as possible. The problem is that the left will often play on people's emotions like that. I heard somebody telling me the other day, we're all a nation of immigrants. And that entire game is set up to do this. It is set up to where you will not value citizenship or borders. And if you don't value those two, you don't have a country. So these people are more than willing to have you not have a country so that they can flood the marketplace with these people so they can secure everlasting power. That's all it is. And they play on your emotions in order to try and get it done.
Yeah, that's all they want to do is make you feel like, oh, you got to open your arms and your homes to these people.
Jesus would allow these people into their home.
But you won't let them in your homes.
What's
and that's
wrong
the funny
with
part.
you?
You won't let them in Martha's Vineyard. And the DHS, what they defend their parole use by saying, okay, because remember, the one thing that the media is going to cover is say, oh, encounters are down. And DHS says, yes, now because we give them parole and just let them come in, we don't have to encounter them.
We don't have an encounter.
So encounters are down. So you're thinking less people are coming in. In reality, more people are coming in and more people are unvetted and more people are draining the society and draining the resources of small towns.
Well, as we heard from the testimony, the entire view of what this administration did, it was less about stopping people so much as it was about processing people. Again, you only have a certain amount of Border Patrol agents, and if you choose to have them do the mission of, we're going to stop people, we're going to send it back to Mexico. All right, that's the mission. The mission changed. They told you what the mission changed into. It turned into process as many of them as we can and turn them loose.
Yeah, and the unfortunate part during this hearing yesterday, again, Democrats just going to, when they did talk about the border, that Donald Trump's racist and he's trying to keep these people out of our country because he's racist. And they always go back to Springfield, Ohio, and the Haitian immigrants. Look how bad. These people are coming in here to make a life, and Donald Trump's a racist saying that they're eating cats and dogs. So they're playing that game and trying to vilify him. At the same time, they're allowing Americans to have their lives turned upside down by these immigrants. Whether they're eating pets or not, they are draining away from you being able to get the help you need. Veterans are still going to sleep on the street while these people have homes.
I really don't have an issue with saying they're not supposed to be here. Send them back to wherever you have to.
Yep.
Okay, they don't have legal status here. These aren't American citizens. So the fact that it's going to be...
But we paroled them.
This cruel process of we're going to round them up and send them out. I can stomach it as long as you can.
Yeah.
Okay? That's a very simple way. Oh, my God, I can't believe they took that family and sent them out. Well, they weren't supposed to be here.
Yeah.
All right? That's all. That's just, I'm going to have the stomach for this fight when it comes up.
Democrats don't let squatters in their house, do they?
I'm not sure if everybody else has the stomach for that fight. All right, when we get back, they are attempting to use a scare tactic here in Georgia. Kamala Harris, that's her next big plan. We'll talk about that next week. Continue the Morning Xtra right here on Extra 106.3 FM.
The legend Neil Bortz is only on Extra 106.3. Hey, it's the camera. How's it going? Here's what you missed from the Talkmaster.
Now, we have a drug problem in this country, both illegal and legal drugs. You watch these advertisements, and you get the impression that all you have to do to have a wonderful life is just take this drug. You'll spend your days on ski slopes or the mountains, maybe laying around on the beach. Your hair will always look perfect. You'll have a clean, smooth complexion. Your family life will be wonderful. You'll have more friends than you can count. Your kids won't be fat. Everything is just beautiful. All you have to do is take this drug. And we watch these ads and we sit back and wonder why we have a drug problem. Illegal drugs. Can't you see the thought processes in these kids? Take drugs, happy life.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 or listen anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.
This fall, the gridiron calls, which means you'll be road tripping to games across the South, and you'll need a reliable ride to get you there. And Subaru of Gwinnett has the vehicle for you. But a new car, truck, or SUV from Subaru of Gwinnett is about way more than just getting to the games. It's about getting the family home. It's about getting to work safely, but it's also about getting the most out of every adventure. If you're driven by an adventurous heart, the 2025 Subaru Outback shares your spirit with standard symmetrical all-wheel drive and up to 32 miles per gallon. Or maybe it's the all-new 2025 Subaru Forester. It holds the road with standard symmetrical all-wheel drive, and it holds everything you need for the tailgate. And no matter where adventure takes you, it starts on Satellite Boulevard in Duluth with the amazing staff at Subaru of Gwinnett. They'll help you find the Subaru that you'll love and be there every step of the way for everything you need. Start your shopping online at SubaruofGwinnett.com and let your adventurous mind run wild. Then stop in for a test drive on Satellite Boulevard in Duluth.
Hey, it's Tug from my friends, the Frost family of First Liberty Building and Loan. You hear about their family's company all the time here on Extra 106.3. First Liberty has helped hundreds of small businesses grow by saying yes when the big banks say no. On Wall Street, opportunities to earn big returns are everywhere. But for Main Street investors, those opportunities are hard to find. Until now. Our First Liberty notes are now open to qualified Main Street investors, paying interest rates of 8 to 13% while helping fuel the growth of small businesses right here in Georgia. With a few basic qualifications and with as little as $25,000, qualified Main Street investors just like you can earn an 8 to 13% interest rate. If this is you, they'd love to hear from you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com and consider joining the First Liberty family today. That's FirstLibertyGA.com. FirstLibertyGA.com.
First Liberty notes are not obligations of or guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. Purchasers must verify their SEC accredited investor status. Securities are not being offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful.
Hi, this is Ben.
And I'm Walt from Horizon Background Screening. The companies that typically use us are law firms. Any business that has a problem with an employee will often hire us if they need some sort of investigation done or some kind of background check.
We're going to help you hire the right person on the front end so that you don't spend all this time with training and all those kind of things and then realize that wasn't a good hire.
The best way for people to find us is on our website. A quick Google search of Horizon Background Screening or look at us at horizonscreening.com.
What's up, Atlanta? It's Ben Burnett, host of the Weekend Ben Burnett Show. Each and every weekend, right here on Extra 106.3, we unpack all the week's events. We talk about all the issues with a local Atlanta-based flavor. You can catch me each and every weekend, Saturdays at 2 and Sundays at noon. If you ever miss an episode, you can go to the podcast park or wherever you download all of your content, and I'll be right there. Thanks for listening to the Ben Burnett Show, proudly brought to you by Butler Snow.
WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. This hour is presented by Van Sant Law, vansantlaw.com.
A lot of celebrities
for Harris. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. It was labeled a Unite for America event. Fox's Brooks Singman has more.
Vice President Kamala Harris holding a star-studded online event with Oprah Winfrey in Michigan, where she was met with special appearances from celebrities like Bryan Cranston, Chris Rock, and Ben Stiller.
Going from a stop Trump mode into a go Kamala mode.
Vice President Harris said,
"This movement that is about reminding each other that we have so much more in common than what separates us is so critically important. And this is about the strength of who we are as Americans."
Harris also touted her economic plans and called state abortion bans a health crisis for women. And a new Fox News poll shows
for Democrats, the top issue in deciding who to vote for was abortion, with 27% saying that mattered the most. A quarter said the economy. When asked what is the single most important factor motivating you to vote, nearly 4 in 10 Democrats said abortion. 37% said stopping the opponent from winning.
On the other side, Fox's Jessica Rosenthal also reports
50% of Republicans said the top issue they considered was high prices. 30% said immigration. 45% of independents said high prices.
Former President Trump addressed the Israeli-American Council, warning if he loses the election, Israel will cease to exist. And if he wins...
And to confront the crisis of anti-Semitism at our universities, I will tell college presidents that they must end the anti-Semitic propaganda, or they will lose their accreditation and they will lose all federal support.
A Kentucky sheriff is in jail charged with murdering a judge.
He was arrested on scene without incident shortly after officials arrived.
State Police Trooper Matt Gayhart. It happened in the judge's chambers in a courthouse. Letcher County Sheriff Sean Steins accused of shooting him after an argument. Judge Kevin Mullins was pronounced dead at the scene. America's listening to Fox News.
I opened a gold IRA with Noble Gold Investments. There's no better vote for your financial safety than precious metals. So Noble Gold Investments is giving away up to 10 1-ounce silver Trump coins or a 10-ounce silver American flag bar with a qualifying account this month. Just use promo code TRUMP. That's NobleGoldInvestments.com.
Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
I'm going to let you in on a wireless hack that can cut your cell phone bill in half. Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile want you to believe you need unlimited data. Fact is, most people don't. Pure Talk only charges you for data you need. For just $25 a month, get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data, plus mobile hotspot. Stop overpaying for wireless. Dial pound 250 and say Pure Talk to switch easily. And save 50% off your first month with Pure Talk.
Get the Extra 106.3 app.
Yeah, I got your app. I live out here 30 miles west of Augusta. I'm so glad Conservative Talk is back on the air.
Welcome back. It is the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3 FM. It's Carlos Medina. It's Scott Rhino. We'll be taking you up until 10 a.m. No Tug this morning. He's a little bit under the weather. We got the call. I think it was about maybe like second quarter of the Monday night or the Thursday night football game where Tug just said, "Guys, I'm not feeling it. I gotta call out on a Friday." And so we said, "Okay, we got you, Tug. Not a problem." So he'll be back on Monday. Show will be a little bit different. I'll be out as we hit fall break, and as our friend Stephanie sent us the tweet, it's Fall break Friday, y'all. So this is like all the kids have kind of checked out mentally. I know my daughter has a couple tests, and then everything is turned into, all right, it's for us, it'll be, I think we'll do about 5 days in Florida. We'll just kind of see. You know, I'm actually trying to, Captain Tim, I don't know if you're listening this morning.
Come on, Captain Tim.
But I'm going to reach out to you. We're going to see about getting something scheduled. You know, see if we can get out on that boat, maybe do a little fishing, and we'll kind of figure it out from there. So
yeah, it's going to be a beautiful weekend up here and week throughout Monday and Tuesday. I've only looked that far because I'm going to grab Liam, and then he and his mother are going to go away for the rest of the week, but I'm going to have him through Wednesday. So I'm like, all right, what's Monday and Tuesday going to be like? Oh, it's going to be beautiful here, and then Saturday, tomorrow, I'm going to be out at True Prep, so hopefully everybody can come out there and hang out with me there. I'm giving away 2 Glock 43S's.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, or X's, I'm sorry.
Somebody's
the
going to win.
version. Yeah, I love that. And then Liam and I are like, hey, what are we going to do this weekend? Let's go hang out outside.
Let's go at the lake, man.
Yes.
Go paddleboard.
Yes, exactly. We're definitely going to paddleboard.
Why don't we have a fall break? Why don't grown-ups get a spring break, a week off? We all go to Punta Cana.
Quite honestly,
margaritas.
Good idea. Here's the issue, Joe. it's not as amazing as you think it is because it's more of what are you going to do with your kids for a week?
Yeah.
Because school basically hands them back to you. And if you don't have a plan, you're looking around going, what am I going to do? Because it's not like if you have working parents, you can just say, all right, we're going to go to work and we're going to let y'all just stay at the house for the whole day. And that doesn't work either. So you got to find something to do. It's a challenge.
We could balance this. What if we did, like for education, right? They have this week, because I know Cherokee County was last week. So they're finishing up. They're going back into school this week. But I like what Joe's going with here. Here's what we do. So teachers and students, they get their fall break for 1 week. And then parents and others who don't have kids, they get fall break the following week. We just ship all our kids to, teachers to take care of.
Or the kids do our jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, we just leave them in school.
This is
sleepovers for an entire week.
This is not a wonderful idea. we kind of build it from here. Just thinking about it, how my 13-year-old sometimes speaks in another language, and you just wonder how much of that would translate to a radio show. I'm not really certain from there. Somebody that does translate to a radio show is Carolyn Ryan. She's going to join us a little bit later this hour as we have a whole lot of things that are brewing when it comes to the Georgia State Election Board and also the idea of dealing with election fraud. She's been all over it. She's going to join us in about 20 minutes from now. We'll get a chance to hear from our friend, TV personality and noted journalist Carolyn Ryan will be joining us here in a few. But let's start right here. So this is a piece of audio, and we talked about it to open up the hour, how we now have Kamala Harris showing up in Georgia, and this is tied to abortion pills that were used in this state, and unfortunately some people, because of medical complications, passed away. But the left in Kamala Harris is looking at it as an opportunity to say, well, this was a lack of resources, this is what happened, and trying to vilify our heartbeat bill and other restrictions that we've put in, which oh, by the way, then I go through the numbers. There's about 11% of the country that believes we should have abortion on demand all times, and that's only legal. That's only done in 8 states, where it can be up until basically the time of conception and then all the way until the time of delivery. That's the window that's allowed, the entire thing. Whereas about 70% of the country believes that abortion should be legal, but there should be timing restrictions, most notably not into the third trimester. That's what 70% of the country believes in. I want you to take a listen to this woman, Rhino. This is the ability to try and use scare tactics to try and make people think about this story in a different way.
I'm Dr. Susan Bain. I'm a board-certified obstetrician and gynecologist. I'm sad. I'm mad. I'm mad because this woman didn't have to die. This woman did not die because, as this journalist reports, that a DNC procedure, which is a minor surgical procedure, couldn't have been done on this woman. Based on the timeline and her symptoms, she should have had it done as soon as she could get to the hospital. It was medical negligence. Had nothing to do with any sort of law in Georgia or elsewhere, because all 50 states you can do a DNC. What's also negligent is the reporting I'm seeing over and over. You are harming women. You're scaring them to seek care. Stop it. You are hurting women. Do your job. Report on deaths like this, but do it accurately. And doctors, we got to do our job. This is medical negligence, and we've got to stop it.
Yeah, there's a lot to these two stories because Kamala Harris, Nikema Williams, the Democrats here in the state of Georgia are going to pretend that this is Donald Trump. And because Donald Trump had Roe v. Wade returned to the state, and of course they're going after Brian Kemp now and blaming the fact that this is a life because of the heartbeat bill, they were afraid to go and speak to doctors. And that's not necessarily true. What ended up happening, and I want to tell you about the two women so you have the background on them. Candy Miller is one of the women, and Amber Thurman's the one you're going to hear about the most. Amber Thurman is a woman, 26 years old. She wanted to become a nursing student. She was living with her boyfriend, and they had sex. They had unprotected sex, which led to the conception of two twins. Or I guess twins would just be, I don't need to reiterate that, do I? But the twins were perfectly healthy babies. She knew within the first 8 weeks, and probably with even the first 6 weeks, if she really wanted to get it taken care of because she failed in her personal responsibility of performing a ritual that she knew would lead to pregnancy if that were to happen. Instead of going within 6 weeks or making sure or checking, she waited till after that. So she was past that point. She didn't go to the doctors at that point. What she did was she drove to North Carolina, found a clinic when she could have taken care of it here and went to a doctor, but she decided that she was going to drive up there. She got 2 abortion pills. She took one before she left. They told her that she should find some physician so that he could monitor when she took this pill. She did not. She then got home and took the second pill, stayed at home, and didn't do anything about it, never talked to a doctor until she started having pains and problems from the abortion pill. The abortion pill broke up most of the fetus and left it. Candy Miller, older, 44 years old, was told by a doctor to never have children again. She had sex. She ended up getting pregnant. She decided not even to speak to a doctor, not to go to a clinic, none of it. She ordered the abortion pills over the internet, took the 2 abortion pills, and died at home because of complications from the pill. She never got the chance to go to the doctor. She did have the opportunity within the first 6 weeks as well. So the reality of this is that Democrats passed a policy. You could order an abortion pill knowing the damaging effects of an abortion pill. Democrats continue to push the abortion pill. And it's funny because even in the ProPublica report, when it talks about Amber Thurman, it says this. She'd taken abortion pills and encountered a rare complication. So rare that the 2 women in Georgia that they're using both had the same kind of complication. So again, they're lying about this entire thing. And she's right. The DNC, every doctor in Georgia takes care of it right then and there as soon as you come and report it.
It comes right back to this. I don't care if they're having sex or not. You know, obviously this is how this situation occurs. I'm not vilifying them.
No, I'm not either.
But considering this, what we've done now is we've tried to create the scenario, and I say we because I'm pointing at really the left. They've done this, where abortion should be something that is, willy-nilly, no big deal. It's just this is a serious procedure. Even if you're taking this in pill form, the idea of doing this without the consultation of a medical physician and somehow making that into like, it's no big deal. No, the possibility of complications, albeit rare, are serious when they are. And so we're completely glomming over that in these scenarios where we tried to turn it into, look, I mean, we just aborted a couple babies. It's no big deal. And when these women had complications, the support that they should have been instructed to have was not there for them.
Exactly. And that's what the Republicans, when they say, hey, we're going to talk about this abortion pill, we just want to make it mandatory that if you do get this pill, that you are prescribed by a doctor the pill. You can't order it over the internet so people like Candy Miller don't die in their bedroom from taking this.
But you're just trying to restrict my rights.
It's not restricting your rights, right?
But that's always going to be the argument that
and
comes
they're going to play this game. They're going to play this game that these 2 women were too afraid to go to the doctor, because that's what it is. They weren't afraid to go. Amber Thurman wasn't afraid. She drove all the way to North Carolina to go to a clinic. Why not go to a doctor here and get the help you needed with the abortion pill? That's the scary part about this. And these are 2 grown women. What happens when your 16-year-old daughter, not yours, Carlos, because I know she's raised better than that, but look, mistakes happen. Kids are going to have sex.
Kids are going to do stuff.
It's going to happen. Are you going to allow your child, or do you want to talk to your child about, hey, we're going to take care of this together, we're going to talk about this together, we're going to go through all the scenarios? Or do you want to ordering a pill, if you're a father, mother, do you want your child at 16, 15, 14, ordering a pill from Amazon, having it shipped, her taking it, you not knowing it, and dying in your bedroom? No.
I've already made the point about what has happened in our household. When we were having a complicated pregnancy, we had to make the decision and have the discussion as to what we were going to do. And our choice was we were going to have the child no matter what. And fortunately, the issues that were present at the time, they cleared up. And so rather than having to worry about delivering a child that was going to live several days, she's 10 years old. So that part's awesome. But so I've had that situation where doctors say, hey, we're noticing some stuff here. You might have to have a discussion about the birth of this child. I get it. It's real world stuff. But I believe it's a personal decision on everybody's part. And so when you decide we're going to move forward with an abortion, I sit back and I say, well, just do it as safely as possible. And that I think is the problem, is that at times we vilified some of this stuff to where these women feel like they're more comfortable doing this in secret.
Yeah.
And it's not that there's not legal and ethical ways to handle this. There are. The problem is that we have shamed people at times into thinking that, all right, you went and had sex because you're a bad person. No, it's about procreation. We're wired to have sex with each other. That's just how it goes. We just ask that you do it responsibly. I think the part that bothers me is that it would ever scare me that if my daughter was to ever have this scenario happen and have this mistake occur, that she would be too scared to visit this with her parents and instead would go drive to some shady black market and do something like what these women encountered.
I think
that's more scary than anything.
I agree 100%, and I think that's where the conversation needs to turn. We got to stop vilifying all of it. What we need to do is, our first line of defense, obviously, is abstinence. And yes, we'd all love our children never to have sex. I don't ever want to see my son, my daughter, if you're a parent, you don't even want to think about that scenario. But you know what? The reality is, and you know it because you did it, and so did I.
All of us were kids.
We've all been kids.
All of us were 15 years old with raging hormones.
So next step is to talk the way I, was talked to when I was younger. You make sure as a adult male or as a male that you wear protection. You make sure the other person's has protection. Be responsible from the beginning. Now, sometimes that fails too. So when that comes, you need to be able to have that conversation with our daughters and our sons to say, listen, this is going to happen. Hopefully you guys are smart enough to know you're not ready for children. You're not going to have it. I would love for you to be abstinent, but when you're not, make sure that you use this. If that fails, come to me. Come to me. Let's have conversations. Let's get you to doctors. Let's not let you do this by yourself. That's where the conversation needs to change.
I think the era that you and I grew up in was considerably different because we had the AIDS epidemic, where we were told, and Joe, you'll never know this, but every magazine you picked up for about a 7 or 8 year period always had a story about somebody with AIDS, celebrity, athlete, and all you thought was, if I have sex, I'll get AIDS.
Yeah.
And that's the way it was. And so the idea of having protection and protecting yourself was at such a different level than it is today.
Yeah. Even my health class back then, I mean, we're talking about late 80s, early 90s. Yep. We were getting condoms before we went home. And, I was a loser, so I wasn't going to use them, but
I'm blowing these up. I'm filling them with water. Throwing them around.
I wasn't going to use any of those on a girl. By the time I did, they would have been bad anyway. But the reality of it is that we had those conversations. And yes, we had AIDS. I was talked to in health class about herpes. That scared me more than AIDS. I was like, when I read about what that does to people and that it's with you for the rest of your life like that, and oh no.
I was going to tell you, I knew more people that had herpes than I knew that ever had AIDS.
Exactly. And, so these things, but I think that's an important thing because we avoid it. Let's talk more about all the benefits of, having children, but at the same time, let's talk about the benefits of being protective and knowing that it's going to happen. Don't be a fool to think that your child is never going to have sex. They are probably going to have sex. Maybe they won't. I still think my son is so innocent at 14 years old, but the reality sets in when I see him watching TV and his little eyes turn into big saucers.
With Sydney Sweeney pops on, and he's like, whoa.
Dude, I was a menace when I was 14. My God, women.
But it was my responsibility as a father to go to him and explain to him all the scenarios that can happen when, and if he feels this way and what his emotions are doing to him right now. And don't let your emotions get ahead of you. Always make sure you do this. And if I have to use monkeypox or herpes or AIDS to keep him safe, then that's what I'm going to do. But I am going to tell him, if you get in this situation, you come talk to me and don't be afraid to talk to me. Don't be embarrassed. Accidents happen. We need to figure out a solution. I would hope that the solution, would be something like, hey, because in these two situations, we lost 5 people who were perfectly healthy. And they happen to be 5 black humans that we lost lives. And not only those 5 people, we're talking about 3 babies and 2 women. We're also talking about the families that were torn apart because of this. It was unnecessary. Now, the reality is, yes, they could have went through with the pregnancies. There would have been 3 babies that who knows what they would have become in the future. They could have been adopted out to people who can't have children.
But now it's being used for political gain.
Absolutely.
And this is this is not a failure of legislation.
Mm-mm.
This was a decision-making process with the lack of care. Care is available. It's available across 50 states. That is the one lie that you're told on a regular basis.
Yes.
These women can't get care. No, of course, they can get care in every single state. It's just a matter of If we're talking late term, things change in different states.
Yes.
That's the only difference. None of these scenarios apply to anything that you're going to be hearing when it comes to what Kamala Harris is going to come down here and say.
And in that clip, that woman, what she said was so important. The media and Democrats have scared women into not going and talking to the doctors, where if they did, this would have been taken care of right away, and these women would still be alive because Georgia would have taken care of them. Every doctor would have taken care of them, including her. But Democrats have scared them so much to say, they're not going to let you. They're going to go to jail. You're going to go to jail. That's not true.
That's not how the legislation works.
These five people are no longer with us.
7 o'clock hour is brought to you by Van Zant Law Group. Again, 7 o'clock hour brought to you by the Van Zant Law Group. All right, when we get back, we will get a chance to jump into headlines, and also we will hear from friend of the show, Carolyn Ryan, as we got some stuff going on with the state elections board, and she is all over. We'll talk about that next. We continue the Morning Extra right here on Extra 106.3 FM.
Well, they're trying to control us, too. They're trying to say, like, we're children, and they can tell us what we can come out of our mouths. Yeah. Don't let other people tell you what you can say.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
Shooting drills. A coach who knows the game can teach their team how to improve. But one who genuinely cares about each player. You have what it takes. We got this. Can inspire them to win. At Truist, we believe the same is true for banking. Because when you work with someone who knows a lot and cares even more, you're unstoppable. Truist, leaders in banking, unwavering in care. Start feeling unstoppable. Visit truist.com/care. Truist Bank, member FDIC, leading based on top 10 U.S. commercial bank.
Hey, Atlanta, it's Mark from the Safe House. You've heard me talk about fake safes, and while that's a really bad way to secure your valuables, you want to hear something that's even worse? Kamala Harris is president. Wow, let that sink in. That'll make you want to throw up. Well, there is good news. The Safe House has the largest selection of safes in the Southeast and some of the best pricing and rebates on safes this entire year. Secure your valuables in a quality safe from the Safe House. Drop by our showroom today or go to atlantasafehouse.com. That's atlantasafehouse.com.
It's the unsung hero of your home, your garage door. You never think about it. You just hit the button and it opens until it doesn't. Hi, I'm Dan Watkins, owner of All Four Seasons Garage and Entry Doors. So you're ready for a new garage door. At All Four Seasons, we offer fast service, affordable prices, and a huge selection of styles, colors, and custom features. Improve your curb appeal, lower your energy bill, secure your home, and increase your property value. When trust matters, trust us. All the number 4 SeasonsGarages.com.
My name is Jamie High, and I have worked for Bruce Hagen for 14 years. Why do I work for Bruce? Because he truly cares. He cares about me, he cares about my family, and he cares about each and every one of his clients. Family is important to him, and he never makes me choose between my family and work. He values me as an employee, but also as a person. At our firm, we are all family, and I wouldn't want it any other way. I am Jamie, and I've worked for Bruce Hagen for 14 years because he's the best. Hagen-law.com.
Primary school math coach positions offered by Atlanta International School in Atlanta, Georgia. Coach teachers in planning and delivery of math lessons that are consistent with PS pedagogy and curriculum outcomes. Collect and analyze data about math and make recommendations to primary school leadership. Work with grade level teams when they are planning math units, assessments, and homework to strengthen number fluency. Please send resume via email to peopleandculture@aischool.org.
Join A Second Chance Bail Bond CEO Daniel Madelon and host Tug Cowart for the weekly radio show Back Your Blue. They will highlight special initiatives, criminal justice programs, and community events aimed at keeping our communities safer. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to learn some good news about and from the law enforcement and justice communities. This week's guest is Sergeant Jeremy Blake, Public Information Officer for the Cobb Sheriff's Office. Tune in on Saturdays or catch up on all past episodes wherever you get your podcasts or at thepodcastpark.com.
No one plans on going to jail, but when it happens, it's important that you know who to call. Call A Second Chance Bail Bonds, where we believe everyone deserves a second chance. Whether your loved one's been arrested in Cherokee, Clayton, or any of the other metro Atlanta counties in between, A Second Chance Bail Bonds works fast to help expedite release within hours. A Second Chance. It's better to know us and not need us than need us and not know us. Call A Second Chance 24/7 at 404-BAIL-OUT or online at atlbail.com.
The the stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines, presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Friday, September 20th. Vice President Kamala Harris will be making a campaign stop in Atlanta today to discuss women's health and reproductive rights. The visit comes after 2 women died from complications related to the abortion pill. The women who were carrying healthy pregnancies took the over-counter abortion pill without a doctor's care and died due to complications. 27-year-old Edward Huffman III is being charged with raping at least 7 women and at least 1 child. Clayton County investigators are calling Huffman a serial rapist and say that detectives learned that Huffman drugged his victims and then raped, sodomized, and performed a number of degrading acts on the women before posting the videos on a porn site as sleep porn. Police say there may be more victims out there. Huffman was denied bond by a Clayton County judge. And in sports, Matt Olson homered twice, and Chris Sale won his major league leading 18th game as the Atlanta Braves beat the Cincinnati Reds 15-3 yesterday. The Braves remain 2 games behind the New York Mets for the final wildcard spot. They will try to extend their 2-game win streak tonight when they head to Miami to take on the Marlins. Charlie Morton will be on the mound for the Braves. First pitch scheduled for 7:10. You can catch that action on our sister station, 680 The Fan.
This is the Morning Extra right here on Extra 106.3. Lawson Rhino, no tug today. He's a little bit under the weather. We'll get a chance to get him back on the show on Monday. And joining us on the show, you can always follow her at Carolyn Ryan TV, is noted friend of show, journalist, TV personality, Carolyn Ryan. Carolyn, how you doing this morning?
Hey, good morning. I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Very good, very good. Let's start right here because I think this is always something that we've been pretty plugged in on with the state election board and some of the changes that have been discussed in trying to secure our elections for 2024. But for the rest of the audience, what is the update? Because I understand we're having another meeting today, and that'll be followed by a number of press conferences and a chance to see what exactly is going on with that state elections board.
Hey, yeah, absolutely. So today is going to be a really big day, state election board meeting at 9 o'clock this morning, and they're going to be talking about and voting on a series of rule changes that would go into effect for this election, for the 2024 election. In fact, it'd go into effect right before early voting begins, which, believe it or not, is less than a month away here in Georgia. I think it starts October 15th. Early voting begins here. So really important rule changes. Just to give a recap, so there's 11 in total. I think one of the biggest ones that folks are really cheering for and keeping an eye on is this reconciliation rule that essentially would require poll workers to hand count the ballots at the end of the night just to make sure that the total number of ballots matches the number of people who walk through the door that day. So it's our bank tellers do it. Any business would do that to reconcile at the end of the day what you're looking at. Of course, the AJC describes this as, quote, a contentious rule proposal, but pretty basic stuff. There's another big one that people are talking about today that would require a poll manager and 2 witnesses to record the ballot count from the tabulation tapes on the recap forms. And if you remember in 2020, Voter GA found all sorts of falsified tally sheets and missing information on those forms. So this is saying you got to have 3 people with eyes on that process. A couple other big ones today they're voting on publicly. They want the registered voters, the voter rolls, to be posted and made public before early voting begins. So there's been a lot of issues around our voter rolls. Sometimes it can be difficult to get your hands on those. Sometimes you're charged for those voter rolls, and we've got a lot of great patriots on the ground that have been really keeping a close eye on our voter rolls. So streamlining that process, making our voter rolls public and accessible before early voting begins. And then another really big one is requiring absentee ballots to be tracked through the mail. So really keeping a close eye on those absentee ballots. So a lot of really big, important rules that are being considered and weighed today. A ton of patriots are going to be out there. They're hoping to get like 1,000 people out there to support these rule changes, and then a big press conference will follow at 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Carolyn Ryan joining us here on the Morning Extra, and I'm glad you brought up the absentee ballot tracking. Now they're saying it's going to cost $4 per voter, so we can't do that. They're complaining that, if they hand count ballots at the end of the night, it'll just drag it on forever. And the reality, and Janelle Janelle King did a great job just saying, we do this all the time. Just count. You have 3 poll workers, count them. It's small precincts, count and be done. Not a big deal. But this is what the Democrats want to do, is make it seem like the extremist MAGA extremists, and Janelle King's not one of them, we know that, but
but she's been labeled that now.
They are going to do whatever they can to deny the election and not certify results. And they go back to one of the first rules that we talked about, which was that there needs to be a reasonable inquiry, and when that happens, we should be able to get the information that we need, kind of like a freedom of information when it came to voting. That's not true that anybody is doing this just to deny certification, is it?
No, absolutely not. And with that rule that you just mentioned that has already passed, it's interesting to note that our Secretary of State, you mentioned Democrats, Rhino, but our Secretary of State, Republican, quote unquote, Brad Raffensperger, is fighting. He has fought that. And he's saying that by conducting a reasonable inquiry into these potential discrepancies before you certify, he's saying that undermines voter confidence. So it makes sense of that mental gymnastics, of how he's trying to make that argument. But we have some of our top Republicans in our government here in Georgia who are fighting some of these common sense rule changes, and you have to ask yourself why. And I'll say, part of this press conference that these patriots are going to have today, and again, these are just grassroots voters, people who are concerned citizens here in Georgia who have really all coalesced and come together in this one goal of securing our elections. They're holding this press conference today at 1. One of the big topics they're going to be talking about is what they call a cover-up on the part of Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, that he has really impeded a lot of their efforts over the last 4 years with lawsuits, teaming up with, for example, Mark Elias, who is the DNC kind of notorious big dog election. He works on behalf of the DNC to fight election integrity efforts across the country in all these big battleground states. He is teaming up with our Secretary of State to fight some of these rule changes. And with regard to some of the fraud and the evidence that our grassroots investigators have discovered over the last 4 years, the Secretary of State himself has covered up a lot of that and really impeded the investigations. And you have to ask yourself why. So today at this press conference, even if you can't make it down to the Capitol, guys, and for all of the folks listening today, although we hope you can make it down to the Capitol, if you can't, follow Georgians for Truth on X, and I'll be posting a lot of the updates as well. And they record these press conferences. They're going to break down exactly what they're talking about, how Brad Raffensperger, in their estimation, has allegedly covered up a lot of this stuff, and why is he fighting some of these common sense measures? They're going to be talking about all of that today at 1 o'clock.
Carolyn Ryan is our guest on the Morning Extra. That's always the first question I have is why are we fighting these things? But then the next one comes back to, I want to make sure that when I take part in an election that it's secure and that the information's good and my vote is counted. And I think so much of this for me, Carolyn, is that I felt like the last several elections I've taken part in, there's been gamesmanship. There's been ways that we've had systems taken advantage of. And as I've said, going into 2024, we need to make sure that we're handling this ahead of time, not after, because after is way too late.
Yes. No, you're absolutely right. And I think we've done, you look at the RNC and you look at some of these big organizations who are vowing, we're going to have all of these, they've been recruiting lawyers, and that's all great. And I hope that, we're seeing lawsuits by the RNC preemptively made in some of these battleground states to clean voter rolls, for example, and some of these other measures. And I think that that's going to make a difference. But one of the speakers also at this press conference today is going to be a guy. Have you guys ever heard of Marley Hornick?
Yes.
She's out of New York, and she's done some really great work with auditing and with her organization. I believe it's called United Sovereign Americans. They're going to have a representative there who's going to be talking about some of that stuff, to your point, Los, and kind of preemptively looking to potentially injunctions or lawsuits that could prevent a problem before it happens. But listen, I think, these rule changes and even you go back to the election laws that our legislature passed since 2020, I think all of these measures are incremental steps in the right direction. Do they solve all of our problems? Like, am I confident saying, hey, 2024 in Georgia is going to be 100% safe and secure, no problems? I'm not confident in saying that. But I think we've taken steps in the right direction. I think it will hinder, maybe it will deter some of the fraud and certainly cut down on some of the errors that we may have seen otherwise. But do they solve all of our problems? No. At the end of the day, I think we still have these insecure voting machines that are susceptible to hacking. We still have those in place. And I think no matter who wins this next election, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat, the fight goes on. Right, because we don't want to be in a situation where, let's say Donald Trump does one and say, okay, all of our problems are solved. Our guy won the election. We're good. No, this fight goes on until we can have paper ballots hand counted at the precinct level on security grade paper, single day voting. Until we can reach that goal, we're going to have issues and we need to stay on top of it.
Carolyn Ryan joining us here on the Morning Extra, and I love that you said that because I don't care if Trump wins or Harris wins. One side or the other is going to complain about what happens, and that's the way it always works. But I want to go back to the voting machines because right now they're testing Dominion voting machines in all the precincts, and one of the big things that Brad Ratzberger, I think he had plenty of time to do was test these machines, and he even came out over a year ago. In fact, I believe it was right after the midterms where he said they need an update, but wouldn't do the update till after the 2024 election. We've had plenty of times to get ready for this election, and that's what scares me more than anything else is I've been misled about this, including the testing of the vulnerability of these machines.
Yeah, and a lot of people will point to it's really just a song and dance. Raffensperger goes to these counties. He goes out, he has some of the, people from the media there, the AJC, and he says, look, see, we tested. Everything looks great. But what the reality is none of us really know. And that's the whole point here is like with machines, we don't know. As humans, we can't read QR codes. Machines can read QR codes. We don't know what software updates will be happening between now and then. We don't know what that looks like. We just don't know. And it's intentionally chaotic. It's intentionally, it's not transparent.
Yeah.
And I think that is the bottom line is even with these testing of these machines, who's testing it? How is it being tested? What does it prove? Like he just goes out and does a little song and dance with the media and says, see, look, it's great. Well, I'm sorry, but I can't take your word for that, Secretary of State, because you have gaslit us for 4 years on the state of our elections, telling us our voter rolls are the cleanest in the nation. Our 2020 was the safest and most secure election in Georgia history, and on and on and on. And the reality is none of that is true. And I think I would hope most common sense voters see through that as well.
But how do you justify the fact that, these machines are safe and good when you didn't do an update? You would think that you need an update to fix these problems, and they've had problems, and you didn't do the update, and now you're testing them? Of course they're going to look fine. They're going to look the same way they were before we had problems.
Right. And even if you did put that patch in, even if he did, it still wouldn't be secure. We still don't know what that patch did. It's still a machine that can be hacked. And I continue to go back to our own governor, Governor Kemp, being caught on camera. It's still up on my Twitter page. It has like 1.6 million views of him saying, you give anybody a machine, it can be hacked. You give anybody an election machine, it can be hacked. And so update or no update. But you're right, Rhino. We should be pointing that out. But the point is, even if patch, had he done it, it's still not going to make people feel comfortable and confident with our elections.
Well, you asked for transparency, and that's the word that I keep going back to. The idea that we've integrated these machines into our voting systems, and yet we're told in certain states, and at times including this one, well, it's going to take hours into the night for us to figure out who won. Like, wait a minute. How is that supposed to work?
And that was one of Raffensperger's big arguments against, this rule change of reconciling at the end of the day. He's saying, well, that's going to delay the count. And it was one of their arguments as well with the reasonable inquiry before you certify. They say, oh, well, it's going to delay. Well, how long did it take for us to get the results in Fulton County in 2020? It's already not. We're not getting the results immediately, even as it is. So what do you mean delay? I mean, they're already. You've got government agencies saying, hey, don't expect to get the results in 2024. It's going to take some time. So they're already kind of grooming us to be prepared not to have the results on election night, even now in advance for 2024. So if that's the primary, argument that the liberals make for using machines, right there, we already don't get immediate results with the machines. So let's do it. Let's do it right. Let's restore confidence in our elections. And by the way, you all know this so well. We've talked about this so much here on this show and other places is Democrats were kind of the OG opponents of these machines as Raffensperger and Kemp were introducing them. They were the ones who were fighting it. So I think everybody knows, and there's so many Democrats on tape saying these machines can be hacked. They're not reliable. And so this is across the board. That is why voters don't feel confident in our elections. And we need to get back to having confidence and having transparency. That's the bottom line. These are our elections. They don't belong to the government. They belong to us.
Carolyn Ryan joining us here on the Morning Extra, and I don't know how I feel about the elections. I don't know if I'll feel safe, but, one thing that I wanted to talk to you about as well is your brother-in-law and what he did at the school in Appalachia. Talk about what happened and your relation to the shooting.
Yeah, so gosh, this is another big issue, isn't it? So obviously the Appalachia, the tragic shooting that took place there recently, my brother-in-law was actually the teacher in the classroom that was targeted, that was shot up. And so we got that text message, our family, at 10:28, I believe it came in that morning. Hey, active shooter. It was gruesome. It was terrible. It just said blood everywhere, dead people. And it was just very short text, obviously in the midst of an emergency. But he really did act very heroic. Our family feels blessed that he was there in those moments with those children at that time. Little Christian Angulo, who his funeral is today, scheduled at 11 o'clock this morning. My brother-in-law held him and tried to stop the bleeding, took his shirt off and put pressure on the wounds. And Christian passed away right in front of him. So he's had a really, really tough time processing all of that, asking, did I do enough? Could I have done more? And our response to him has been, we believe, God spared you and put you in front of little Christian to give him comfort and aid in a time, that he was taking his final breaths. And so it's really been a tough few couple of weeks, and I know it'll be really difficult today at that funeral for Christian and the whole school. It's just obviously such a tragic situation.
I can't imagine, considering that the trauma that you go through when you see this sort of stuff, or to be right out in front of it, how much is that community, because we've seen all the surrounding high schools in the area really rallying to support, but how has that community been coping, working with knowing that this trauma is going to last for quite a while?
Yeah, it really is. I've asked my brother-in-law about that. I actually asked him yesterday because he sent us a text message that said Marvel Studios came and visited the kids, and I guess The Rock showed up, and he sent some pictures of The Rock, and to see some of the kids kind of being able to just laugh and get excited, and to see that kind of help boost their morale was really nice to see. They, I guess, start school back on Monday, according to my brother-in-law. He's also a coach on the football team. He said the football team started practicing this week. So they're trying to slowly ease back into life post this shooting. And I think it's helped for them to have time to not feel like they're forced to go back into that situation. Obviously, they're going to be apprehensive, but my brother-in-law said the kids seem to be doing okay. They seem to be doing pretty good. And I know it sounds cliche, but really, I know for our family and for my brother-in-law, he has asked for prayers, and we have been covering him in prayer. And I think the community at large, you see some of those vigils that they held, the candlelight vigils, and to see how they're using prayer, I think that has really helped in this interim as well.
Yeah, we'll continue praying too, and tell him that we love what he does. We love what he does every single day for those kids, and I know the guilt that he's probably going through, but he was a hero that day, so we appreciate him.
He was. Yeah, absolutely. I'll relay that. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Carolyn Ryan, it's going to be a big day. Thank you so much for your time today.
Hey, guys, I appreciate it. Happy Friday. Please follow us for updates. I'll be posting updates of the State Election Board at Carolyn Ryan TV. Follow Georgians for Truth. They'll have updates as well. And have a blessed weekend, guys. Good to be with you.
Thank you. There she goes,
Thank you,
Carolyn Ryan, who just does it as well as anybody here locally, just giving you what's all going on, and to obviously have her family involved in things like what we heard about when it happened. Within that afternoon, we were basically told, hey, Carolyn Ryan's brother was like really involved in this. And so, gave him a few weeks and obviously get a chance to tell that story about her brother-in-law and what he was able to do that day to comfort and try and protect those children. All right, when we get back, Joe Virgin River's worst nightmare played out in Congress. It all makes sense in a minute. I guarantee it. We'll talk about that next as we continue the Morning Extra right here on Extra 106.3 FM.
Hey, it's Flounder, and the Kimmer Show is live every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m.
Why do the Republicans let the liberals do it? ABC, CNN, NBC do a Candy Crowley, which is what they did last night, and basically let her skate. He didn't have a great performance. Let's put it on him, too.
He screwed up.
But you cannot allow the libs to control the debate, and they do it every time.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
Hey, it's Front Office Lowe's. Let's talk about Exmark mowers. And where do you pick up Exmark? You do that at Howard Brothers. Now, I highly suggest the reason why you go over to Howard Brothers and why you look into Exmark equipment is so your lawn doesn't look like the Joe Virgin River playbook when it comes to when he does NCAA football. It's all over the place. It's messy. There's no real semblance of how he runs anything. When you go over to Exmark and you get that over to Howard Brothers and pick up that Exmark, well, your playbook is going to look more like mine. Unified, effective, clean. That's how your yard is going to look when you involve yourself with Exmark. Exmark, here's the cool part. Precision cutting and unmatched reliability when it comes to your lawn looking game day ready. Again, not Joe ready. That's kind of sloppy and messy. More along the lines of what you're looking for from Exmark. And what do? Well, you make it a point to go over to Howard Brothers, meet with the people. They're local. They know the equipment. And not only that, they know how to maintain the equipment so you get many seasons of use. Hey, if you're a homeowner, you're looking for the best, well, that's going to be Exmark. If you're a professional, you already know Exmark. But again, you want to go ahead and get that equipment for the new season, you do that over at Howard Brothers. The grass is always greener when you take care of it with Exmark and with Howard Brothers.
Oh, man, look at my backyard. Looks like a tornado met a hurricane in a desert. I'm going to tell her to turf off. Or maybe you'd rather turf on with ATL Turf Co., the Southeast leading turf installer. Whether you'd like a new football field, putting green, or have us create the perfect maintenance-free backyard of your dreams, find ATLTurfCo.com. Make your yard great again. Visit ATLTurfCo.com and see what we've created for customers like you in the Southeast. ATLTurfCo.com. And no more yard cackling.
What's up, Atlanta? It's Ben Burnett, host of the Weekend Ben Burnett Show. Each and every weekend, right here on Extra 106.3, we unpack all the week's events. We talk about all the issues with a local Atlanta-based flavor. You can catch me each and every weekend, Saturdays at 2 and Sundays at noon. If you ever miss an episode, you can go to the podcast park or wherever you download all of your content, and I'll be right there. Thanks for listening to the Ben Burnett Show, proudly brought to you by Butler Snow.
Have you heard about Sonder and their Georgia-based Medicare Advantage health plans? Sonder Health Plans is committed to revolutionizing healthcare, making it straightforward, personal, and affordable. Call them and ask if you qualify for their fantastic $400 grocery card offer and $0 premiums. They've even got their own radio show and podcast called Weekend Wellness, dedicated to keeping all Georgians healthy and happy at every age. Call 800-331-2928 or visit SonderHealthPlans.com. Sonder Health Plans is an HMO with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in Sonder Health Plans depends on contract renewal.
Tune into your new favorite show that's redefining the A to Z's of marketing, the Marketing Mad Men. We'll take you behind the scenes of successful campaigns and reveal the strategies that win. We're not just talking about marketing, we're making it happen. From viral content creation to leveraging AI for customer engagement, our experts bring you to the cutting edge of industry. This is your playbook for market dominance. Tune in and transform your approach with actionable tips that could skyrocket your ROI. The Marketing Mad Men every Saturday at 4 p.m. right here on Extra 106.3.
One of the hardest things to do is to walk away from a paycheck. As retirement planners, Masterplan knows how hard it can be to pull the trigger on your own retirement. Don't go it alone. Master Plan is a holistic retirement planning firm that works with you to create a retirement plan to help maximize your golden years. Through income planning and money management, legacy planning, and tax planning, we create a plan specifically designed for your life. Enter retirement with confidence. Contact Master Plan to analyze your retirement outlook and create a plan that's right for you. All initial consultations are complimentary, so contact us today and begin your pursuit towards peace of mind. Visit masterplanretire.com. Masterplan Retirement Consultants. Plan well and prosper.
Advisory services offered through Master Plan Retirement Consultants Inc., a registered investment advisory in the state of Georgia. Insurance, tax, and commodity services offered through Fricks & Associates Inc., DBA Master Plan Retirement Consultant. The aforementioned are affiliated companies.
Miss any of the show? No sweat. Grab your Extra 106.3 app and listen to show replays whenever you want. Download the Extra app now for Apple and Android by searching for XTRA 106.3.
7 o'clock hour of the Morning Extra is brought to you by Van Zant Law Group. This is the Morning Extra. Los and Rhino. No Tug. He'll be back on Monday. Just feeling a little under the weather today, and he did it the right way. On a Friday. You get that Friday. I don't think I can make it in.
I might get sick Sunday night, late Sunday night. I don't know.
So I had the scenario because I was going back and forth with management over like, okay, how many vacation days are left? How much do I have for this? Trying to kind of plan out the remainder of the year. And they brought up one of the days and I recognized, okay, I have burned a Friday, but I didn't mean to. I was sick during the NFL draft. The Thursday night of the draft, I was in North Carolina, and by the time I got off the air at like 10 o'clock that night after the Falcons had drafted Michael Penix, and we went to like the 15th or 20th pick, got off the air and realized I don't think I can talk. By the morning at like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, I have no voice. And so I'm texting you guys, and then I recognized I'm burning the Friday one, man. Like that's normally the giveaway. That's like when they know you're faking it. But I wasn't.
No, that's
I was sick. I was sick.
I can verify that.
I was legitimately, you know who can?
I can't verify Tug, though.
No, I can't either. But our friend,
tried.
Well, I mean, we text, and the text is good enough. You say you've got an issue, like, all right, we'll cover it. But it was Ice Cold Stu, our friend who runs with the Braves Radio Network and runs so many of our on-site. He's like,
he's the best.
Dude, you're sick.
Yeah, dude, you're sick.
He's looking at me like trying to get further away. He's like, dude, you are sick. I'm like, well, I guess I had a little bit of an issue. All right, so here was something fun from yesterday. And this has to be, this is nightmare fuel for single guys. And quite honestly, hey, if you're a married guy and you're up to some silliness, this is probably also nightmare fuel for you too, okay? So South Carolina Representative Nancy Mace, who I will say, quite foxy, okay? Like that's just what it is. She's a congresswoman, and they were having another one of their opportunities to, basically get a chance to talk about what was going on in the country. And here's what she decided to do. She decided that because she had gone on CNN, if you remember, what was it, like a month ago?
Yeah.
And she had a panel that tore her up. Basically inferred that she was racist because she was calling Kamala Harris.
Right.
All right. Like, she mispronounced her name slightly, and the panel just jumped all over her. Just like, it's racist at what you're doing.
Yeah.
Well, one of those people ends up being Michael Dyson. Mm-hmm. And he also was one of the people on that panel who then basically said, what you're saying is racist. So what she decided to do is enter into testimony the text messages that he sent to her after this appearance on CNN. And gets a chance to play this audio. Just think about this. If you sent private text messages after going on CNN with a woman in which you kind of inferred that she was a white supremacist or racist, then you decided to hit on her later.
Whoa.
All right. This is what she did with that audio in this testimony.
I would like to also enter into the record a screenshot of a text message I received from the esteemed professor from Vanderbilt, Michael Eric Dyson, after my CNN interview, begged me for photos. In this text, he says, after calling me a racist on CNN, shh, don't tell anybody, we look good together, and sent me a kissy emoji.
Without
then
objection.
the guy
Order.
says I'm gorgeous in all these photos. I don't think he's that bent out of shape on how anyone pronounces Kamala. And if we're going to have that standard, you got to hold it to both sides, not just one or the other.
She entered into testimony
with a kissy face.
His text messages of him hitting on her.
That dude is creepy too, by the way.
That if there's such a thing, like if you've ever seen the Mandalorian on, it's Disney and it's a Star Wars show, but they always talk about how this is the way.
Yeah.
All right, this is the way. Here's how you fight these people. That woman held on to those text messages for what, 6 weeks?
Yeah.
And then waited till the time where she just goes, and then I'm going to enter them into testimony in front of Congress and put Michael Dyson on the record of having him hit on me through my text messages saying I'm gorgeous and sending me kissy emojis.
Yeah, don't ever make fun of Sydney Sweeney, because when you do, we will play all the audio of you talking on a knife to her.
I could never. I just got so much secondhand embarrassment there.
Right. Like I think about poor Joe sends a text message to a girl and then down
I'm
the road.
all up in the DMs.
Yeah, and then he posted, or like she posted on like a billboard on 285 of like, this is what this guy tried to say to me.
It's Creepy Joe.
Or hey,
crash my car. Why don't I?
Here's all the DMs that he sent me last night. I'm going to post them over on Instagram.
Text bubbles all over big billboards.
That
was amazing.
Took it to a whole different level.
I love it. And they're all over Twitter now.
She's great. She put them all out there.
With the pictures, everything.
You shouldn't have called her racist for misspeaking on a name, because guess who wins? Nancy Mace ends up being the winner on this one. All right, when we get back, a tech-oriented guy, as we're talking about what's been going on in Silicon Valley, recognizes what Elon Musk has done for society. This is going to be interesting to visit. We'll talk about that next week. Continue the Morning Extra right here on Extra 106.3 FM.
Time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
Been a tough week. Want to lighten up today, so I'll go back to a radio TV story from my college days. In the wonderful world of radio and TV, people like to have their names pronounced correctly. It's easy to tell people how to pronounce my name. Bortz rhymes with sports. Other people have it a little bit more difficult than that. For instance, Heinrich Verwoerd, or is it Verwoerd? Afrikaner, Dutch. If you're my age, the name might sound familiar. He was the Prime Minister of South Africa, not a good dude. He was a dedicated white supremacist. He even protested the South African government when South Africa dared to declare war on Hitler's Germany. Like I said, not a good dude. Now, in Austin, Texas, and I was in Texas at the time, there was a news anchor on an Austin, Texas TV station, KLBJ, owned by LBJ. This poor news anchor could not pronounce the name of Heinrich Verwoerd. Obviously, I can't either. And it became kind of a running joke in Austin because this guy was really in the news, and this news anchor would screw his name up every single time it showed up in his news copy. The name, by the way, is spelled U-E-R-W-E-R-D or something like that. Anyway, as it happened in 1966, the Prime Minister was assassinated. Somebody stuck a knife in his neck. And at KLBJ, when the bulletin came through, there was only one person that could go on the air and announce the assassination of the Prime Minister of South Africa. And that was this poor, hapless news anchor that could not pronounce his name. A local joke because he could not pronounce this guy's name. So the lights are on, the camera's on, the director points at him, and he announces, "We have this breaking news from South Africa. The Prime Minister has been assassinated." He pauses, looks at the camera and says, "His name is being withheld pending notification of next of kin. Good move, pal. Neil Bortz, Extra 106.3.
Get ready for Real Talk on the Janelle King Show, where we tackle kitchen table topics that are banned from family gatherings, but crucial for a strong republic. Tune in every Saturday at 3 p.m. and every Sunday for an encore episode at 9 a.m. And if you can catch us live, great. But if not, no worries. New podcasts drop every Tuesday on the Podcast Park right here on Extra 106.3 or wherever you get your podcast. Join us for insightful conversations that matter.
Don't let a cold, sinus infection, or allergies ruin your day. Breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier with Navage. Visit Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or a store near you.
This September, Diamonds Direct's ultimate offer is back, stronger than ever. Diamonds Direct helps you get the perfect jewelry gift with 0% interest. That's right, enjoy 5 years of 0% financing on any Diamonds Direct purchase. It's your chance to get her the perfect ring with 0 interest and comfortable monthly payments that fit your budget. But act fast. This offer ends September 30th. For details and more, visit diamondsdirect.com. Spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest on approved credit. Only at Diamonds Direct. Your love, our passion.
WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. The 8 a.m. hour is brought to you by Central Heating and Air.
There will be consequences. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. As of the Secret Service's acting director hints, as Ronald Rowe plans a news conference days after the second Trump assassination attempt. But his comments today will focus on the investigation into the first one, at the shooting at the former president's rally in Butler, Pennsylvania in July, saying they are moving into the accountability phase. So far, 5 Secret Service agents have been placed on administrative duty over security failures at the rally.
The idea that our elections would be upended by an assassin's bullet would be so catastrophic to the country.
That's Republican Congressman Mike Lawler. The House will vote today on a bill he introduced to ensure the presidential candidates get the same level of protection as the president. Oprah held a Unite for America live stream for Vice President Harris with a lot of celebrities joining in.
I'm just smiling from ear to ear, Oprah. I have never felt this much joy and optimism in a campaign in a long time.
That's actor Bryan Cranston. The vice president touted her plans for the economy and spoke out for abortion rights and against some state bans.
Among everything that is wrong with these bans and what has happened in terms of the overturning of Roe v. Wade, it's a healthcare crisis.
Harris will speak out on that today in Georgia. She met last night with the family of a Georgia woman amid claims she died because of delayed treatment of abortion complications. Former President Trump addressed the Israeli-American Council, warning if he loses, Israel will cease to exist.
And the Jewish people would really have a lot to do with that if that happens, because at 40%, that means 60% of the people are voting for the enemy.
Hezbollah is retaliating to Israeli sabotage, the exploding pagers and walkie-talkies in Lebanon this week that killed dozens and injured thousands.
We've seen a massive barrage of rockets come out of Lebanon to communities in the north of Israel. The potential of a second front opening in this war seems to be closer.
Fox's Mike Tobin in Tel Aviv. Israel has also launched airstrikes in Lebanon targeting Hezbollah rocket launchers. America's listening to Fox News.
I opened a gold IRA with Noble Gold Investments. There's no better vote for your financial safety than precious metals. So Noble Gold Investments is giving away up to 10 1-ounce silver Trump coins or a 10-ounce silver American flag bar with a qualifying account this month. Just use promo code TRUMP. That's NobleGoldInvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
I'm going to let you in on a wireless hack that can cut your cell phone bill in half. Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile want you to believe you need unlimited data. Fact is, most people don't. Pure Talk only charges you for data you need. For just $25 a month, get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data, plus mobile hotspot. Stop overpaying for wireless. Dial pound 250 and say Pure Talk to switch easily. And save 50% off your first month with Pure Talk.
It took 100 years, but finally there's a conservative voice you can trust. Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
Welcome back. It is the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. It's Los. It's Rhino. No Tug. He's out today. A little under the weather. He'll be back on Monday, the 8 o'clock hour. of the Morning Extra is brought to you by Central Heating and Air. Central Heating and Air. Sign up for one of the maintenance agreements. I have one. Tug has one. This is one of the things that we do. We get the yearly maintenance, and if ever you have an issue with your unit, and I have it in the past, that's what happens when they get to be about 14 years old, or how old mine are. They do the routine maintenance, and if there ever is an issue, they come out within 24 hours to take care of it. Central Heating and Air. Coming up in a matter of minutes, we will get into Donald Trump talking about the economy. That is something he completely gets in comparison to his opponent. But I wanted to play this piece of audio for you because this is Joe Lonsdale, and he was on Squawk Box on CNBC. Now, this guy is an investor. Oh, okay. Let us know when it's up and flying. I'll just tell you a little bit about him. So what he does is he's an entrepreneur that focuses when he goes on Squawk Box on different areas of entrepreneurship in terms of investment. And he'll talk about different companies and what they're doing. When NVIDIA was going crazy, he was talking about, hey, here's how this stock is moving. He'll talk about technology. He'll say, here's what's coming. This is an interesting angle, and this is somewhere where you might be interested in placing your money. And so all of it is just very cutting edge stuff. And what he ended up bringing up, and we'll get into the audio in a matter of minutes, he brought up Elon Musk purchasing Twitter and turning into X. I want you to take a listen to the big picture view, because one of the things he gets into is this is not a good investment. But then he talks about the bigger picture investment.
Well, let me just ask you, when on Elon Musk, and you talked to him, it was not a good investment for him or the bankers in Twitter. Is he still happy that he did that, and does he feel like he took one for the team? He's getting a lot of backlash. Maybe people, I've seen on a Tesla, on a bumper sticker that says, Elon, shut up. I've seen things like that.
If Elon hadn't bought Twitter, if Elon hadn't done this, the entire West would be at 10x the threat in terms of, our civilization works, Joe, because we have free speech, because we have property rights, we have
he doesn't care about the $40 billion.
These basic values are at threat. And no, listen, X is up 25% or so year over year. It's up 25% year over year. The revenue's down, of course, because the brands all went at him, because the brands are run by people who are not tied to the values of Western civilization.
But that's not a free speech argument. If the brands don't want to support you, they don't have to.
They absolutely don't have to. Yeah. And there are people being sued right now who did illegal coordination to try to attack it, which probably was illegal.
Is it illegal to say, I'm not going to put my ads there anymore, are you?
That's not illegal at all, but to coordinate behind the scenes with lies and to do something that's a cartel trying to crush something, that's not necessarily appropriate. And so I think that's got to come out in the courts, and we'll see what they did.
Okay.
So that one analyst is failing to see what Lonsdale is bringing up, that for $44 billion, Elon Musk help at least put a firewall on the death of Western society, because that's what we're seeing across Europe right now with all of their hate speech laws.
Is she failing to recognize it, or she just doesn't want to? Because it seemed like
she was kind of still caught up in the whole evaluation of it, and as he's putting
she's
it forward,
got something else going.
Yeah, she's and again, maybe hers is strictly mathematical based in terms of it's not, quite honestly, it's not a great investment in terms of your point of return on $44 billion. Now, he's going to make his money and he'll make his billions out of it. But this was more about, when he said this was about free speech, it looks more and more like he saw the vision of where things were going, and this was about free speech.
I think free speech is way more valuable than the $44 billion that he invested, and you're right. He will make this back because things are changing. The ideas are changing. The tide is changing. And no matter what, one thing that I've really enjoyed about this is that you get those community notes on both sides. There are things that Republicans put up, and I see community notes, and I'm like, you know what? Good. I'm glad they did that, because that is ridiculous that they're putting that out there. Democrats, same thing. They're putting out lies, and they're getting community noted. The Democrats hate that. That woman hates that because, you know why? Because she's probably been hit with some of those community notes, or no, she will be, because they do this on purpose. They distract from the truth. The reality is what Elon Musk did for technology. Look at the way Mark Zuckerberg all of a sudden started to change his tune after Elon Musk bought X. He started losing on Threads. It fell apart. But now Mark Zuckerberg says that Donald Trump's assassination attempt in the picture was one of the most badass things he's ever seen. And then he goes 2 weeks later and talks about what the Biden administration and the powers that be in the administration tried to do to tell Meta to cooperate with them. I think it's changed free speech altogether.
Well, if you take a look at what's going on in the United Kingdom, and because they have a whole lot of issues right now that are tied into the amount of people that they've let into their country, it has changed the fabric of their society. It's made London considerably more dangerous if you just look at some of the numbers and what they're having violent crime. The stabbings are what's so incredibly gross. And the issue that you have is that when you speak out about it using a social media platform, that has a version of hate speech where people can come down on you. We have something very similar that's happening in Canada. And so when you look at these pillars of Western society and free speech is drying up, you finally had the Germans that, as of early this week, said, this mass immigration thing may not be a really good idea. It's not really working out for our society. All right, they're coming around. But the fact that you had a man in Elon Musk who decided to say, I'm going to make a purchase that from a business standpoint doesn't make a whole ton of sense.
Yeah.
From a societal standpoint, it made a ton of sense.
It does, because think about what he's done. He's exposed the censorship, but not only that, he's also forced people like Justin Trudeau, like Macron, like all the people in the UK that are extremely liberal and want to censor somebody like Twitter. He's exposed them and forced them to come out and make these statements. So now they're coming out saying, well, Elon Musk, we're going to jail him for allowing people to say these things. And the backlash that they get from people on Twitter saying, oh, I know they're going to come after me, but I don't care. I'm putting this up anyway. I have the freedom of speech. It's become such an issue. He's forced people like Justin Trudeau, which is why you're starting to see Trudeau may lose power because now all of a sudden conservatives who are tired of being suppressed or censored are actually winning some of the seats in the parliament, and they're about to kind of make that more of a conservative or at least moderate country again because they're tired of the censorship. It's more than $44 billion. It's more than making money. Elon Musk has changed the way that we look at censorship.
Well, look across South America and look throughout the portions of Europe and into China. Look at the regimes that are censoring X or won't even allow it in their country. Or if you VPN to it, they will find you and they will fine you for doing so. Because the danger there is you start sharing ideas freely. And that's dangerous to totalitarianism. The thing is, what it really comes down to is that these regimes are always scared of the people. They're scared of the people organizing against them. And one of the ways that they have to organize, one of the ways you do it is by using social media. And so that is why they have such hindrances to it. So, like for instance, if we wanted to organize some sort of, if we want to do a bake sale, we could get on Twitter and we could put something together and we could organize a bake sale. All right, what if we wanted to organize a rally and go to D.C. and, let's say talk about how we wanted a unity party, but we wanted centered on American values and we want all different people. Okay, that's how you organize. Mm-hmm. That is what these people fear. And that's why these regimes keep it from happening. That's essentially what Elon Musk purchased, was the ability to talk and to organize.
Yeah, it's the community place. It's the town hall of the community at this point, and all at the same time becoming the number one news source because they fact check both sides, and you're able to do that, unlike ABC, who would not fact check both sides. Twitter does, and that's why the media and everybody else now have put all their content on Twitter as well, because they realize it's the number one news source. He's changed the game. They don't like him because he is against that regime, the puppet regime. They don't like him because he used to be a Democrat and said, hold on one second. There's one thing about being a Democrat. It's another thing about censoring free speech. And that's his main issue more than anything else, is exposing the truth, exposing corruption, and allowing people to use their First Amendment right. And that's a huge threat, because you're right. That's why they divide and conquer. They don't want groups to come together and go, oh, this is something we all agree on. All of us should be able to have the ability to say what we feel.
Right. It's a foundational.
Yeah.
There are people that I have completely different political views of, and yet we can both share those ideas in the arena of ideas. And basically, if you recognize that one idea will win, one idea will lose, well, most of the time I'm going to win. But the fact that we can have that discussion is the basis of free speech and the basis of freedom. If you don't have that, everything else ends up being pretty trivial.
Yeah.
You're welcome to think, like the theme of 2020, 2021 was, you're able to think as free as you want, just in your mind.
In your mind.
Don't say anything.
Don't say it out loud.
What? I lived through that. I went through like 24 months of, wow, you can't say anything.
It's a weird situation, and now it's kind of changed because when I start seeing people, and I've seen more Donald Trump supporting hats than I've seen in a long time, because you're right, in 2020, 2021, nobody was wearing them anymore all of a sudden. You're like, wait, what's going on? Do we not support this Make America Great Again? Do we not support some of the candidates that are working here until, obviously, when Donald Trump announced that he was going to run again, and we finally got into that, then you started seeing come. But now people aren't afraid to go out there and actually speak their mind because they're not going to be punished for putting something up that they feel is important to them.
In 2020 and 2021, by January 2021, the idea of supporting Donald Trump publicly became such a taboo in society that you had people that just like, I'm just going to take this hat and kind of put it on over here. You know, I'll see about maybe getting around to it and put it aside. Think about how badly the Biden-Harris administration and the left at large has had to mess up.
Yes.
In order to make it to where people are like, where's that hat? Yeah. I'm putting it back. And by the way, I'm buying 10 and I'm going to put the yard signs back in the yard because that's how badly I've messed up.
And then we're going to all walk around with hashtag FJB shirts because they are so bad that entire stadiums are chanting these things. And we even have NBC covering it saying, no, he said, let's go Brandon. Then that goes viral. People were unafraid as soon as, you know, they were able to speak their mind and feel free to speak it and not being punished. We saw what happened if you went to the Capitol and wanted to take pictures or were invited into the Capitol and started talking about why it's so important that we feel safe with our elections. You go to jail. They exposed this. They exposed the censorship. Twitter has done such a good job giving voices to people that you wouldn't even hear from. We talk about, you know, the censorship of, and I apologize, I forget his name, but he was with Amazon. He ended up leaving Amazon because he didn't agree with them, and then Amazon came after him. The Justice Department came after him and his wife, and they've destroyed their lives. Twitter gave them an outlet to tell their story, and now they're getting some vindication. Not enough, but they're getting there, and that's what Elon Musk has done for people.
The Morning Extra is right here on the Morning Extra. It is all brought to you by the 8 o'clock hour, is brought to you by Central Heating and Air. Donald Trump, if you want to say anything about him being bombastic or egotistical or anything else, we all freely admit, like, yeah, that's how that goes. But if you want to question his knowledge of the economy, that is one area, Rhino, where there's never going to be a doubt about it. And I think if you want to talk about when you have the scenarios similar to what we had last night with Kamala Harris being with Oprah and having regular Americans ask, how are you going to improve my life? And she can't articulate it. Donald Trump ends up breaking it down saying, well, here's the ways I'm going to do it, and it's starting with energy, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing that you have more than anything else. Kamala Harris will tell you, well, the way we're going to bring down grocery prices is by bringing down grocery prices. Another little, trip into the bizarre world of Kamala Harris's brain.
I have a story for you for later this hour.
Oh, good. I can't wait. But Trump understands what this Fed cut means. Okay, we know that the Fed cut 50%, right? I'm sorry, 50 percentage
50
points.
50 baseline points, yes.
So the points are gone. Yes, it's one of the biggest cuts. And the reason they did it, and we know, is to help Democrats in one way or another to spin that the economy is great. Now we're seeing that the economy is not great. We know that. And Donald Trump knows it. So Donald Trump is able to speak to you about that. Kamala Harris, of course, will not talk to you about that. But the reality of it is this. When you double the size of a standard move, and the standard move would be 25 basis points, you double that, there's a reason for it. You know how bad it's going to be. You're trying to lower it because you're getting ready for the recession.
Well, you're trying to stimulate the economy. We're seeing the job numbers fall in the way that we are. And so you're right. The idea is that we've got to do something to try and kickstart this deal. We now are in an environment where we were told, here's where inflation is. All right. We kept moving our points up to the point now where we've stagnated on borrowing, on home sales. And now it's turned into, well, as the job market starts to have its issues, okay, we've got to kickstart this thing. Mm-hmm. I'm right there with you. I think a lot of it ends up coming back to when you don't have a lot of options, then you take the extreme option. Yep. And a half-point cut is considered an extreme option.
Yeah.
Based on what the history has been. You haven't had this kind of rate cut, I believe, since 2007.
Yeah. But what does it really do for you? Yes, if you're going to buy a small business, if you're going to buy a home, maybe that's it. But right now, the rest of the economy is in a disaster, so you don't have the money to actually do that. So this is kind of a pander in the way. But they also know we're heading towards a recession regardless. If they cut the interest rates, they're hoping to stimulate. But then again, unemployment is starting to go back up, and you're not getting the jobs that they said they were. So the fact that they played with these numbers and lied and Donald Trump knows that we're heading for a recession. I really think they understand that no matter what they say, whatever the polls say, or how the Harris campaign is pushing, that they're way ahead and they've got all the momentum. I really, truly believe that they don't think that. And they're okay with what's going on and will not speak about the dangers of how the Fed is showing that the economy and job market are actually in very bad shape, because in reality, if Donald Trump wins, what do they get to do? They get to come in office as the recession hits, because it wouldn't hit until after he's in office anyway, probably February or March.
We're in it now.
Yeah, we're already in it.
It's just a matter of how bad it's going to be, like what the numbers fall to.
Well, they do. They'll expose it at that point, saying, see, as soon as he got back in office, he's destroyed the economy. We're in a recession. We're heading to a depression. Inflation's not fading. It's not moving anywhere. Is it down a little bit? Yes, but we're still above where we were before.
You're not going to have to worry about it, Rhino. They're not going to certify the election anyway.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's totally fine. All right, before we end the segment, because I'm going to play this next segment as well. I want you to take a listen. This is Kamala Harris. She's on with Oprah. They have got their little town hall meeting. Here's what they're going to do. And there's a video that pops up of a just Joe average American family. Not your family, Joe. Y'all are far from average. But there's a man and a woman, and they decide they want to ask Kamala Harris about helping them out. Take a listen to their question and take a listen to what her response is.
We really would love to know what your plan is to help lower the cost of living.
Yeah, first of all, thank you both for being here. And yours is a story I hear around the country as I travel. And in terms of both rightly having the right to have aspirations and dreams and ambitions for your family, and working hard and finding that the American dream is, for this generation and so many recently, far more elusive than it's been. And we need to deal with that. And there are a number of ways. One is bringing down the cost of everyday necessities, including groceries.
What? Huh? Wait. You have the right to be right? What was I can't even keep up with her brain the way it's moving.
Let's take a break. I'm going to tell you about a story of venturing into the wild yesterday.
Okay.
And I will just tell you, it was fascinating, the liberal mindset, and it's also going to tie in perfectly with that Kamala Harris piece of audio. We'll get into that next as we continue the Morning Xtra right here on Xtra 106.3 FM.
Atlanta radio legends, proud military vets, national network experts are all on Xtra 106.3.
It's going to be an interesting couple of months.
With live and local shows in the morning and afternoon, and the biggest conservative hosts in the country throughout the day. We are always here with the latest news and opinions you need.
There's no chance if the media and the Department of Justice and social media are all against you.
No traffic interruptions, no former shock jocks, just Atlanta legends you've turned to for a generation. The conservative voice of Atlanta. Xtra 106.3 FM and the Xtra app.
Electrify your senses with user-friendly technology and earth-friendlier power. Meet the all-electric 2024 Mercedes-Benz EQE 350 sedan. Satisfying for both drivers and passengers with innovations that only Mercedes-Benz can deliver. Experience the all-electric 2024 Mercedes-Benz EQE 350 sedan today. Lease one today for just $569 per month for 36 months with $67.13 due at signing. Exclusively from RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs. Contact RBM of Atlanta for details on this vehicle and many other models. And visit today to see how to qualify. Special lease rate available only to qualified customers exclusively from Mercedes-Benz Financial Service through RBM of Atlanta Sandy Springs through September 30th, 2024. Excludes tax, tag, title, and Georgia Lemon Law fees. Contact RBM of Atlanta for details on this and other exciting offers. Visit rbmofatlanta.com or call us at 770-390-0700 for details.
This time of year, there are two things you can't stop:
the leaves falling off the trees, and the prices falling at Solomon Brothers Jewelers. If you are planning a fall wedding, birthday, or anniversary, there's never been a better time to visit Solomon Brothers Jewelers. Percentage Week is back for 1 week only, September 16th through the 22nd. This is your chance to save up to 60% off on engagement rings, wedding bands, earrings, necklaces, bracelets, and more. Everything in all 3 of our showrooms will be discounted up to 60% off. Now is the best time to save on the engagement ring and wedding bands of your dreams. Choose from all of the top designers in the industry, or say I love you with a beautiful pair of diamond earrings or a tennis bracelet. Remember, no matter the price, you'll find something nice at Solomon Brothers. So visit us for Percentage Week, September 16th through the 22nd, going on in all 3 of our showrooms in Buckhead, Alpharetta, and Sharpsburg, or online at solomonbrothers.com.
You know the old expression, I love it when a plan comes together? Well, with our First Liberty Notes, this has been so true. Hello, I'm Brant Frost, founder of First Liberty Building and Loan. You hear about our family's company all the time right here on the station. For over 30 years, we've been the local lender who said yes when the big banks say no. A couple of months ago, we opened up our First Liberty Notes program to Main Street investors just like you, and the response has been just incredible. Folks from airline pilots to physicians to even pastors are now earning 8 to 13% interest rates while helping to fuel the growth of local small businesses. If you're a qualified investor with a minimum of $25,000, you too could be earning 8 to 13% interest. We'd love to have you join our First Liberty family today. Go to firstlibertyga.com and see if our First Liberty Notes are right for you. Go to firstlibertyga.com. That's firstlibertyga.com.
First Liberty Notes are not obligations of or guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. SEC accredited investor status must be verified. Securities not offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful.
You know Diamonds Direct for their exquisite diamonds and fine jewelry. What about luxury watches? With a hand-picked collection by the industry's top timepiece experts, skip the waiting list and get the timepiece you've been eyeing right away. And this month only, enjoy 0% interest for 5 years on all the top brands. Imagine owning a $15,000 luxury watch for just $250 a month. Spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest on approved credit. Diamonds Direct, where you can shop direct for diamonds and watches.
Are you concerned about securing your family's future and assets? Look no further than Nelson Elder Care Law. As a family-owned and family-focused firm, we offer absolute assurance and peace of mind through our comprehensive asset protection services. Visit NelsonElderCareLaw.com to explore how we can safeguard your legacy and provide tailored solutions for your family's well-being.
Insurance companies know that you don't know a lot about the law, so maybe it would be better just to let your lawyer make the call to the insurance company when there's a problem. David Van Sant should be that lawyer. He used to work for the insurance company. He knows who to call, what to say, and he has your best interest at heart. Plus, if you don't get paid, either does he. Van Sant Law, 855 GA Injury or vansantlaw.com.
This is an announcement to all United States vehicle owners who own a 2003 or newer vehicle with a manufacturer's warranty about to expire or no warranty coverage at all. With a struggling economy and the cost of living on the rise, Endurance is now offering an affordable, low-cost vehicle coverage plan to the general public. As of today, you could be one of millions of drivers that now may qualify to have your vehicle protected under this coverage and have all future covered auto repairs paid directly to the repair shop for you. You pick your plan. You pick your deductible. You even pick the repair shop. Roadside service, towing, and rental coverage is included. Get your vehicle protected now and save your wallet from costly vehicle repairs. A toll-free number has been established for you to call for your free 5-minute quote and to see if you qualify. The number to call is 800-298-9383. 800-298-9383. Again, that's 800-298-9383. Coverage, deductibles, and claims may vary. For details, go to endurancewarranty.com.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
All right, here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Friday, September 20th. Vice President Kamala Harris will be making a campaign stop in Atlanta today to discuss women's health and reproductive rights. The visit comes after 2 women died from complications related to the abortion pill. The women who were carrying healthy pregnancies took over-the-counter abortion pills without a doctor's care and died due to complications. 27-year-old Edward Huffman III is being charged with raping at least 7 7 women and at least 1 child. Clayton County investigators are calling Huffman a serial rapist and say detectives learned that Huffman drugged his victims and then raped, sodomized, and performed a number of degrading acts on the women before posting the videos on a porn site as sleep porn. Police say there may be more victims out there. Huffman was denied bond by a Clayton County judge. And in sports, Matt Olson homered twice and Chris Sale won his major league leading 18th game as the Braves beat the Cincinnati Reds 15-3 yesterday. The Braves remain 2 games behind the New York Mets for the final wildcard spot. They will try to extend their 2-game win streak tonight when they take on the Miami Marlins. Charlie Morton will be on the mound for the Braves. First pitch scheduled for 7:10. You can catch all that action on our sister station, 680 The Fan.
Morning Extra is brought to you by the 8 o'clock hour, is brought to you by Central Heating and Air. Sign up for that maintenance agreement. We will get a chance to tell you about the story about being out in the public and getting a chance to run into the beauty of liberalism. But before we get into that in a moment, I do want to remind you about the 2024 Fall Green Card, or the Freen Card, depending on who's writing the copy. Extra 106.3 brings you the 2024 Green Card and your opportunity to play 6 premium courses with a cart for just a one-time purchase of $249. Typically, that's a $600 value. We're talking Mystery Golf Club, Stone Mountain Golf Club, Sequoia National. That is a great course. Country Club of Gwinnett, Cherokee Run Golf Club, and Heritage Golf Links. Again, all 6 courses, just $249. So don't wait. Grab your Extra Golf Green Card now. They will sell out. I think we're down to 22 of them.
Yeah, they keep moving quick.
We always start with like 200, and then it gets down. It's like time, okay? Like you're down to the last little bit here. Get yours at extra1063.com. So yesterday, Rhino, we had volleyball practice, and my daughter's always asked, I don't want to stop. So what I always do is I will put in an order for food. In this case, it was the Chipotle. And so I'll put it in there and I'll say, okay, your food will be ready in like 45 minutes. I was like, okay, I've got some time to kill and I'm not doing anything in the gym. I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go down the street and get a beer at the little local watering hole.
Ooh, fun.
You know, just what we're going to do. And so there's little Mazzies down the road. Go into Mazzies, go hang out for a bit. Love those places. Just cool, chill bar, you know, nothing too crazy. And there's a poor guy who's next to me. And I say this because
he's like had no money.
No, and when I say poor guy, is that he's like 5 or 6 drinks in, and he's found himself a nice woman to talk to, and they're both, I'd say, probably late 50s, early 60s, and she couldn't be more liberal. And it was making him crazy. But they're having a friendly discussion. But here's the fun part. He's so far into the drinks that he just can't articulate anything.
Nothing. Okay.
Oh, it was brutal. Like things that are so easy. Yeah. Like when I heard her saying, we're all a nation of immigrants. And he's like, I feel bad. And I'm just kind of, and I'm like one seat over. And I'm just enjoying my beer. And at some point, one of them looked over at me. And she said, we were just having this discussion. I hope you don't mind. I was like, no, I totally don't mind. And she's like, are you able to have a mature discussion? You can join us. And I go, well, that would be like putting the fox in the hen house.
Yeah, you warned him.
And now she's curious. Now she's like, And so I did the ultimate pretzel question. Now, I was very friendly about it. I was nice. I told her, listen, this is what I do for a living. This is pretty much like inviting Tyson into the boxing ring and you're just now learning how to fight.
Yeah.
Okay, like this is not going to go well for you. You probably shouldn't be doing this. But again, friendly. I was not going to try and embarrass the poor woman. Before we jump into this, I want you to take a listen to this piece of audio. This is Kamala Harris. She was on with Oprah Winfrey, and you had an American couple that asked about how she plans to help them moving forward. This ends up being a really big part of the discussion I had at the bar. Take a listen to how Kamala Harris tried to explain what she was going to do for the standard American family.
We really would love to know what your plan is to help lower the cost of living.
Yeah, first of all, thank you both for being here. And yours is a story I hear around the country as I travel. And in terms of both rightly having the right to have aspirations and dreams and ambitions for your family and working hard and finding that the American dream is, for this generation and so many recently, far more elusive than it's been. And we need to deal with that. And there are a number of ways. One is bringing down the cost of everyday necessities, including groceries.
You know, the aspirations, dreams, the far more elusive than it was. It wasn't that elusive, 4.5 years ago. Right. So that's the funny part about it. But, I watched the family that asked the question because they had them screened side by
side screenshot,
and those two people just shook their head like yeah.
What else? What else?
They never got that answer, and at the end, they just kind of stopped shaking their head. Now, those two people will probably still vote for her for some reason, but she never answered the question, and it makes no sense. This isn't about dreams and aspirations going forward. This is about being able to afford eggs tomorrow.
So I ended up asking this very nice lady. Her name was Renee. I ended up asking.
Good morning, Renee.
I was like, I'm just going to ask this question. I'm not doing this to be a jerk. I'm like, but can you articulate what your favorite piece of Kamala Harris legislation or policy that she's put forth? And she just looks at me and she goes, my favorite piece. I really liked at the DNC when she had to explain how it's Kamala. And I go, all right, so it was a funny moment at the DNC, played on your emotions. Okay, so what is your favorite piece of policy that Harris has put forward? Rhino, after the wheel spun for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
After she brought up Donald Trump.
Okay.
After she went to the only one she could, which was like, well, abortion this. She could not articulate one point. And this is what's so important about Kamala Harris. By the time those people were done asking that question, she did not give them anything that they could say, this is what she plans on doing. And in fact, when this nice lady started telling me about bringing down the prices of goods, I brought up, well, that's 1917 price control tactics. The Russians tried to do it as well. It doesn't work. Out of nowhere, the bartender comes, he puts a beer in front of me. He goes, that one's mine. He goes, that one's on me. And he fist bumps me. He's like, I've been listening to this woman for like half an hour. It's like, he's not going to say anything to her.
It's infuriating.
But I'm sitting back, basically taking her apart, friendly, nice way. And the bartender is flat out like, dude, you're the only person at this bar who's been able to just totally rip her to shreds on this stuff in a nice way. She didn't feel mean about it, but it put forward, tell me a policy, and she could never tell a policy.
Well, that's the important part because, see, they go on the offensive right away, right? When you ask them a question, you give them that opportunity to talk, and you give them that opportunity where they get confused, and that's what happens with Kamala Harris. She's very good on going on the attack while she is speaking to group that can't ask her the questions back. But when you ask a question, that's what pretzels them, and I love the way you do it because it's the same way I do, and that's the first leading question that you should ask anybody who tells you you should support Kamala Harris.
What's your favorite policy?
Why? What's her favorite policy? What policy affects me? And that's the question. That's the way I usually ask it. I go, okay, if you want me to vote for Kamala, tell me what she is going to do for me and my family. What will she do? And none of them can give me an answer to it. Or they come back and be like, well, you'll be able to buy your house for the first time. Well, I already have a house.
I asked them to make it just one policy.
Just one.
Just one.
They can't.
Because that's the problem that you end up running into. In fact, one of the things that poor Renee, I'm sorry, as she put forward to me, she's like, well, she's going to limit the prices of prescription drugs. I go, so you're once again talking about getting involved in private industry and price fixing. And so I then proceeded to tell her, if we're so concerned, because I asked her, I go, how much do you think these supermarkets are making? She's like, like 20, 30%. I was like, it's basically 1.5%. I was like, now the credit card companies are making significantly more. I was like,
33% and above.
And they were actually allowed up on stage at the DNC. So don't tell me about,
56% increase.
Don't tell me about how she's for the little guy. And the Democrats are for the little guy. That is not the case. But it always goes back to articulate one point of hers. Or that family who was just asking one question, and that's what they got out of her, which you wrote down all the buzzwords and not one piece of actual idea.
Absolutely. And, it's, again, we open up our airways to everyone because if someone could call and tell us one of the policies that will work, then
404-741-1230. Like, if you were to ask me, okay, give me a piece of Donald Trump proposed legislation that you like. Then I've said the same thing over and over. I like the idea of giving tax incentives, tax policies to corporations, companies that keep their jobs here.
Yeah.
That if you're going to enjoy a lower corporate tax rate, which we've already been able to do down to 21%, maybe we're talking about 17% if we know your goods and services and what you're providing stay here, they're manufactured here, and they're provided, it's completely made American that way.
I also love the idea of tariffs for the same reason, number one. Number two, I don't think we should get rid of the tariffs that the Biden-Harris policy has been running with the entire time, which happen to be Trump
policies, yeah.
So
Trump tariffs,
I do like
they
that.
Still have them.
I love the fact that Donald Trump in 2019 signed in Schedule D medication restrictions for seniors and made sure that their insulin wouldn't be more than $35 a month. I love that he signed an executive order on that. I know that Biden is taking credit for it, but it's only because Democrats wouldn't push that through until Biden said he'd signed for it, so they use that legislation. So I love that. I love that we're going to keep continuing down that path. I love the idea of sending people back to where they came from and bringing immigrants in on a needed basis that we need you here, or you want to be here, you want to be safe.
What do you bring to the table?
What do you bring to the table? And here's the legal route that you can go.
And so, in summation, as poor Renee was going into her whole thing about Donald Trump.
She loves America.
She then went into all the buzzwords. And this is where I knew this poor lady really doesn't think for herself. Mm-hmm. They all try and pretend like they do. They all try and pretend like, oh, I've pondered all this stuff out. I'm well-researched. Dude, she seriously brought up Project 2025 as his platform.
Yeah.
Which is only what you get if you're watching the MSNBCs. If you're listening to this radio station, all their ad buys is trying to take something from the Heritage Foundation and pass it off as his own plans for legislation and his own plans for the future, which is not the case. You can just go and pick up the 20 ideas of what they put out at the RNC and said, here's what our goals are. Here's the 20. That's it. Mm-hmm. Now, once that woman went down that road, that was pretty much the end of it for me. That was there's not really going to be much help for you. And what I found, and this is the part that's the frustration, you have to be a certain level of sad and angry to take in this kind of rhetoric and this kind of programming and make it your own.
Yeah.
And that's basically what she was. She was just a sad and angry woman. And she flat out told me when I was leaving, she was like, I'm on a fixed income and this is what they're doing to me. And all I looked at her was, this is what your government's doing to you.
Yes.
Not me.
It's not me.
I'm not your enemy here.
Yeah. In fact, you know what? We're looking to find a way that you can do whatever you want, make whatever you want. And, yesterday, I know it went viral yesterday with the man with the boat and the woman trying to attack him saying, you're doing so well. You're doing so well. Why do you have to worry about the economy? Why do you have to worry about what gas prices are or grocery prices are? And, he gave a perfect answer. Just because I get a boat and I have jet skis and I worked my entire life for this and I'm a retired guy who worked for, and I keep forgetting what he said he did, but it was a labor kind of job.
He was ex-military that he worked into work for himself.
Yeah, and then he went into work for himself and earned everything that he got. Now he's retired and he's enjoying the fruits of his labor. And then when she said, but who cares how much you pay for grocery? He goes, well, I still want my money to go as far as it is.
I want it to go further.
But he said something that was so important when he said, it's not just about me. If grocery prices come down, if interest rates come down, if inflation comes down, yes, it helps me, but it also helps every other person in this country. Rather than segregating and separating everybody the way the Democrats are, these kind of ideas and Donald Trump policies, they will help everybody, where her policies are only meant to help a small, tiny percentage of the American people.
It was still the idea that a rising tide lifts all boats, and it's amazing that CNN reporter standing next to the water with a bunch of boats did not get that. 404-741-1230. Let's go on out to Al. Al, you're up right here on the Morning Extra. How you doing?
Yeah, hey, another great show. And by the way, Tug, if you're listening, I hope you get well soon. Listen, guys, I'm wondering why Kamala Harris never says anything about price gouging as it relates to colleges and universities and the cost of education. Rather than paying off all these student loans, maybe we need to put price controls on colleges and universities, since these guys are teaching this liberal crap. Maybe they like a taste of their own medicine. We'll see how long they stay in business. What say you?
Yeah. Oh, Al, you know the whole reason why.
What if we cut some of their pensions?
It's all the cyclical nature of you borrow the money from the government, you pay the government back in interest, and in the meantime, they give you all the communist ideology you need.
Everything.
It's a wonderful cottage industry.
It's smart. Yeah, it's predatory lending that they've continued to do, and I love the idea of what he's saying. Obviously, they'd fight that tooth and nail, but that's why the important part is getting rid of the Department of Education and breaking that down and finding ways to, actually save money for the American people. They want to price fix everything. They know they're not going to be able to price fix everything, but they're not going to stop trying.
I just love the idea of, in the future, hopefully several years down the road, of taking out $150,000 to send my kid off to school so that she comes back and hates me.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
I mean, the best way.
What a world.
Going back to Donald Trump and why he knows the economy, he knows that if we start getting energy back, we start refining it and using it. When gas prices come down, that means the cost to ship everything to the retailers comes down. The cost to build products, 90% of our products are made from petroleum. Those kind of things that we need every single day, all those prices come down. The economy gets better, inflation comes down, interest rates come down, and we are a prosperous country.
8 o'clock hour is brought to you by Central Heating and Air. Get yourself one of those maintenance packages so that you can enjoy all the perks with Central Heating and Air. When we get back, Kamala Harris. You know what she's really good at? Communist slogans. We'll talk about that next. We continue the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3 FM.
Well, they're trying to control us, too. They're trying to, like we're children, and they can tell us what we can come out of our mouths. Yeah. Don't let other people tell you what you can say.
The Kimmer Show, every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
Lee Brandt Jewelry and Watch Company, where quality and value make the difference. Locally owned and located in Sandy Springs, offering you the finest selection of unique diamonds, sapphires, rubies, and emerald jewelry, as well as other fine gemstones. Lee Brandt Jewelry and Watches has been servicing Rolex watches for over 30 years, and their Rolex-trained watchmaker will service your watch in their state-of-the-art Rolex service center in their store. Lee Brandt uses only genuine Rolex parts, and their estimates are free. Drop by Lee Brandt in the Trader Joe's Shopping Center in Sandy Springs or visit LeeBrandt.com.
Hi, this is Ben.
And I'm Walt from Horizon Background Screening. There are two ways that we generally help businesses. First, as they're going through the hiring process with people, help them to find the criminal history. If somebody's on the sex offender registry, needless to say, most companies need to screen those people out. If they're going to be driving a vehicle, if they're going to be in people's houses, we need to make sure that we understand what their history is to protect your company and to protect your clients, but also to protect your employees.
Our pre-employment background checks, FCRA compliant. We're going to make sure you stay good with the EEOC, all those kind of things. Our PI stuff is going to be a little bit different. We can dig a little bit deeper. We have different avenues, and we can get into kind of the weeds of things, which on those kind of cases we want to do. 25 plus years, we've just been blessed with growth and have basically become a nationwide provider of both pre-employment background checks and private investigative services.
The best way for people to find us is on our website. A quick Google search of Horizon Background Screening or look at us at horizonscreening.com.
The Atlanta Braves are celebrating the best fans in baseball with Fan Appreciation Week, September 24th through the 29th, when the New York Mets and Kansas City Royals come to town. Fans can enjoy 50% off concessions before first pitch, ticket and retail discounts, a mystery bobblehead giveaway on the 27th, free games at Hope and Will's Sandlot, and more. Tickets start at just $9, so get yours today at braves.com/promos. Atlanta Braves Baseball. We are Braves Country.
I enjoy a good night's sleep, and I like to breathe while I'm sleeping. My wife appreciates that, too. That's why I wear a CPAP. You want the right machine. You want expert advice. You want all the supplies that go with it. You get it all at CPAPs, etc. in Alpharetta. Machines, masks, tubing, filters, cleaning supplies, all of it, and they ship nationwide. Walk-ins, by the way, are welcome. CPAPs, etc. Alpharetta, CPAPSETC.com.
Oh man, look at my backyard. Looks like a tornado met a hurricane in a desert. I'm going to tell her to turf off. Or maybe you'd rather turf on with ATL Turf Co., the Southeast's leading turf installer. Whether you'd like a new football field, putting green, or have us create the perfect maintenance-free backyard of your dreams, find ATLTurfCo.com. Make your yard great again. Visit ATLTurfCo.com and see what we've created for customers like you in the Southeast. ATLTurfCo.com. And no more yard cackling.
A musician with technical knowledge can play all the right notes. But one who cares enough to play from the heart gives music soul. At Truist, we believe the same is true for banking. Because when you work with someone who knows a lot and cares even more, you're unstoppable. Truist, leaders in banking, unwavering in care. Start feeling unstoppable. Visit truist.com/care. Truist Bank, member FDIC, leading based on top 10 U.S. commercial bank.
When you're leaving the house, do you plead with your garage door? Please open, please open. Hi, I'm Dan Watkins, owner of All Four Seasons Garage and Entry Doors. Let us take that anxiety away with one quick call. Our highly trained technicians will get to the bottom of your garage door issues. It could be a simple repair, a malfunctioning opener, or maybe just needs a tune-up. But if it's time for your garage door to be replaced, we'll make that easy too with upfront pricing and free estimates. When trust matters, trust us. All the number 4 Seasons Garages.com.
This fall, the gridiron calls, which means you'll be road tripping to games across the South, and you'll need a reliable ride to get you there. And Subaru of Gwinnett has the vehicle for you. But a new car, truck, or SUV from Subaru of Gwinnett is about way more than just getting to the games. It's about getting the family home. It's about getting to work safely, but it's also about getting the most out of every adventure. If you're driven by an adventurous heart, the 2025 Subaru Outback shares your spirit with standard symmetrical all-wheel drive and up to 32 miles per gallon. Or maybe it's the all-new 2025 Subaru Forester. It holds the road with standard symmetrical all-wheel drive, and it holds everything you need for the tailgate. And no matter where adventure takes you, it starts on Satellite Boulevard in Duluth with the amazing staff at Subaru of Gwinnett. They'll help you find the Subaru that you'll love and be there every step of the way for everything you need. Start your shopping online at SubaruofGwinnett.com and let your adventurous mind run wild. Then stop in for a test drive on Satellite Boulevard in Duluth.
Live and local news talk continues at 3 p.m. with Kimmer, Pete, and Flounder. It's the Kimmer Show, only on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
Oh, hey there. Welcome back. It's Morning Extra. Hi. On Extra 106.3. It's Los. It's Rhino. No Tug. He'll be back on Monday, just a little bit under the weather. You still have Joe Virgin River. So if you do want to call into the show, 404-741-1230. Just got a visit from Al. And the rest of y'all's are all welcome anytime. Like I said, it's Friday. More than willing to take whatever we were planning and just toss it aside for a segment. It happens if we like the call.
And follow in Al's footsteps, because what he does is he's so brilliant when he comes on. And the reason he's brilliant is another great show, guys. Always
start
compliments
with
us.
Look here. No, you don't have to compliment me.
Yeah.
Compliment Rhino.
Yeah.
When you call in, start off by saying, "Hey, Rhino, you're looking really tall on YouTube today, man."
Yeah.
Just start with that, or "Hey, man, that sure looks good on you."
Yeah.
Start there. And then at that point, it doesn't matter what you bring up. He's going to be ready to roll.
I'm ready to roll. And you know what? Though, even though I when Liberal John called in and called me Papa FB, even though it was spread out and a bunch of bad words, I really did appreciate that too, because I now have 2 T-shirts made with it. Thanks to Steve Marcinko. Yeah, I got another nickname, so I don't even mind being insulted.
That was
cool too.
Funny when we were out there for that event, and Steve Marcinko brings a shirt over. Because everyone on their staff who was working this event, raising money, trying to support everybody in the area, and they all had names on their shirts just to let you know, here's who I am. If you need some help, approach a staff member, call them by name. In this case, Rhino has one on the back that just says Papa FB.
And it was great to explain to all the police officers.
Yeah, they're all like, why does it say Papa FB?
And then when I explained how it came to be, they're like, that is the most amazing thing I've ever heard. Thank you, Liberal John. I love you.
Yeah,
I do. I love you every day, man.
We appreciate all of you out there as we continue to do these record crazy numbers and listenership. So
I love you too, Uncle Chip.
Remember, always just download the app. Extra with an X, XTRA 1063. You can always go back on the app too and listen back to the show, whatever hour that you want to jump on. Let's talk about Kamala Harris and the communist slogans that she's using. This is a piece of audio that we wanted to get to the other day. We just didn't, but it still works because every single time she talks, she's giving off certain buzzwords. And I want you to listen because there's a man on this piece of audio that he is just a regular dude out there, but he is who Kamala Harris is trying to court. She's trying to get black men to go along with what she's advocating for. And he's listening to her and recognizing the buzzwords. Take a listen. This isn't me or Rhino or Tug telling you this is what she's sounding like. This is a man who goes, yeah, I've heard this before and I recognize what it is.
And we are not going back
America is ready for a new way forward. We are not going back. We together will chart a new way forward. We're not going back. Together we'll move forward.
We're not going back. Forward together. Folks, this has literally been the slogan of the Communist Party for the past 10 years. I'm not even joking. If you go to the Communist Party USA's website, 3 years ago, Communist co-chair Rosanna Cambron literally wrote an article titled, "We're Not Going Back, Forward Together." Rosanna is a communist through and through, and she's unashamed of it.
That's how we communists work. This is how you build that movement that's going to be the massive movement that we need to topple capitalism.
It's not a coincidence that this just so happens to be Kamala Harris's campaign slogan, nor did she plagiarize it from the Communist Party. Communists have long acted as the kind of ideological undergird of the Democrat Party here in the United States, and Kamala Harris is just a continuation of that.
Forward together. Together we'll move forward.
Again, for the past decade, communists have been giving speeches all over the country where they have the banner, "We're not going back," plastered behind them.
Chicago has produced more outstanding communist leaders maybe than any other place around in a lot of ways.
So this begs the question, do you continue to pretend that Kamala Harris is not influenced by communist ideology, choosing instead to blindly accept the Marxian policies that she's pushing forward? Or do you choose not to be the idiot they think you are?
We don't even need to say anything, really. Like, that is so well done. That piece of audio was my favorite piece of audio of the entire week, because that gentleman actually went and got the corresponding pieces of audio and said, listen to how the communists are speaking to you. Listen to how Kamala Harris is speaking to you. It's the exact same.
Oh, it's exactly the same. And the further you get into communism and socialist ideas, you realize the entire message that Kamala Harris does and everything she says, from the unburdened by what has been. That's a very, very common communist idea. When they talk about the people's community, oh, I'm sorry, that was the Nazis who talked about the people's community and the opportunity economy. That's part of what this entire idea is. It's all communism. Going back to socialism and the Nazi Party, when you talk about the beauty of labor or the strength of joy, one of the things they told everybody is about, having joyful activities, and everyday joy will be brought by bringing in more education for adults, re-educating adults. What do you think the Democrat Party is doing today?
When the term useful idiot is bannered about, that's not an insult. Okay? That is a term the communists came up with for when they have to seduce the masses. Yes, they are referring to you as an idiot. They are. But they're doing it in terms of, we need you. We need you to be a useful idiot. And so for everyone who then touts we are going back, we ain't going backwards, you are the useful idiot. Yeah. And that's not me insulting you. That is the communists saying, we need you to be dumb and compliant.
Yeah. You're going back to what? $1.77 gas? You're going back to low interest rates? Or is she telling you, let's go back to 1943 Germany? Because it seems like they want to bring us backwards.
They are looking to install as much communism as possible. Ooh. That's how the West Coast works. All right, when we get back, the 29 vulnerable Dems and what you might be able to get accomplished against them. Talk about that as we get the 9 o'clock hour going right here on the Morning Extra.
It's time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
Been a tough week. Want to lighten up today, so I'll go back to a radio TV story from my college days. In the wonderful world of radio and TV, people like to have their names pronounced correctly. It's easy to tell people how to pronounce my name. Bortz rhymes with sports. Other people have it a little bit more difficult than that. For instance, Heinrich Verwoerd, or is it Verwoerd? Afrikaner, Dutch. If you're my age, the name might sound familiar. He was the Prime Minister of South Africa, not a good dude. He was a dedicated white supremacist. He even protested the South African government when South Africa dared to declare war on Hitler's Germany. Like I said, not a good dude. Now, in Austin, Texas, and I was in Texas at the time, there was a news anchor on an Austin, Texas TV station, KLBJ, owned by KLBJ. This poor news anchor could not pronounce the name of Heinrich Verwoerd. Obviously, I can't either. And it became kind of a running joke in Austin because this guy was really in the news, and this news anchor would screw his name up every single time it showed up in his news copy. The name, by the way, is spelled U-E-R-W-E-R-D or something like that. Anyway, as it happened in 1966, the prime minister was assassinated. Somebody stuck a knife in his neck. And at KLBJ, when the bulletin came through, there was only one person that could go on the air and announce the assassination of the Prime Minister of South Africa. And that was this poor, hapless news anchor that could not pronounce his name. A local joke because he could not pronounce this guy's name. So the lights are on, the camera's on, the director points at him, and he announces, "We have this breaking news from South Africa. The Prime Minister has been assassinated." He pauses, looks at the camera, and says, "His name is being withheld pending notification of next of kin." Good move, pal. Neil Bortz, Extra 106.3.
Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3 FM.
Join A Second Chance Bail Bond CEO Daniel Madelon and host Tug Coward for the weekly radio show Back Your Blue. They will highlight special initiatives, criminal justice programs, and community events aimed at keeping our communities safer. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to learn some good news about and from the law enforcement and justice communities. This week's guest is Sergeant Jeremy Blake, Public Information Officer for the Cobb Sheriff's Office. Tune in on Saturdays or catch up on all past episodes wherever you get your podcasts or at thepodcastpark.com.
No one plans on going to jail, but when it happens, it's important that you know who to call. Call A Second Chance Bail Bonds, where we believe everyone deserves a second chance. Whether your loved one's been arrested in Cherokee, Clayton, or any of the other metro Atlanta counties in between, A Second Chance Bail Bonds works fast to help expedite release within hours. A Second Chance. It's better to know us and not need us than need us and not know us. Call A Second Chance 24/7 at 404-BAIL-OUT or online at atlbail.com.
This is a ball game. You can't say, that Donald Trump is just fine, but he's better for America than they are. Who doesn't know that?
The Kimmer Show every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app. WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey Broadcasting Station. The 9 a.m. hour is presented by Southern Exteriors. Quality and precision you can rely on.
Giving presidential candidates more protection. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Elections should be determined at the ballot box and not by an assassin's bullet.
Days after the second Trump assassination attempt, the House will vote on a bill Republican Congressman Mike Lawler introduced with a Democratic colleague after the first attempt to give candidates the same protection as a sitting president. And we'll get an update today on the Secret Service investigation into security failures at the July Trump rally shooting in Pennsylvania.
In an excerpt obtained by Fox News, Secret Service Director Ronald Rowe plans on saying the findings from the agency's investigation into the assassination attempt on former President Trump have prompted Secret Service to move the agency into the accountability phase. Rowe hinting that people could face disciplinary action.
Fox's Ryan Schmelz. 5 agents have already been placed on administrative duty. Vice President Harris got a lot of support from celebrities as Oprah hosted a live stream from Michigan for her.
My approach is about lifting you up.
Speaking out in favor of abortion rights and touting her economic plans.
One is bringing down the cost of everyday necessities, including groceries. So that's why I'm taking on, for example, price gouging.
A new Fox News poll shows that high prices rank as the most important factor driving voters to the polls this November, and that a majority of voters believe that high grocery and high housing costs are a major problem for their families.
Fox's Brooks segment, a majority of voters say they trust former President Trump more to handle the economy. He again warned in an Israeli-American council address if Harris wins,
Israel will be faced not just with an attack, but with total annihilation, and I hate to say it so much.
Hezbollah has fired a barrage of more than 100 rockets into Israel today, retaliating for the exploding pagers and walkie-talkies in Lebanon that killed dozens and injured thousands. Israel's been firing back. A Kentucky sheriff is now an inmate, jailed and charged with murder the day after he was accused of shooting a judge in a courthouse following an argument. America's listening to Fox News.
I opened a gold IRA with Noble Gold Investments. There's no better vote for your financial safety than precious metals. So Noble Gold Investments is giving away up to 10 1-ounce silver Trump coins or a 10-ounce silver American flag bar with a qualifying account this month. Just use promo code TRUMP. That's NobleGoldInvestments.com.
Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
I'm going to let you in on a wireless hack that can cut your cell phone bill in half. Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile want you to believe you need unlimited data. Fact is, most people don't. Pure Talk only charges you for data you need. For just $25 a month, get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data, plus mobile hotspot. Stop overpaying for wireless. Dial pound 250 and say Pure Talk to switch easily. And save 50% off your first month with Pure Talk.
Start your day with live and local conservative talk with Tug, Rhino, and Carlos Medina on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3.
Welcome back. It's your final hour of the week of the Morning Extra, and I don't know what you're going to do for that weekend period. You better enjoy yourself on Saturday and Sunday, because then you'll get the show back on Monday. Tug will be back.
Maybe.
I don't think he's doing this like the long goodbye. Like, I don't think that he went out for cigarettes and then just doesn't come back.
You never know.
Right? It's Lowe's, it's Rhino.
I will say this. Laura's here. And if he were calling in for hooky reasons, then you'd think maybe she would have gotten sick too and stayed home with him.
More than likely. I think he's probably very sick. Or
that's why I think he's running away on the entire family.
Or he went out for cigarettes and he never came back.
Yeah.
He just vapor trailed us.
Absolutely.
Maybe all of the pressure of just the having to have the kid in school, trying to still make the music career work, Nashville not buying your stuff, and you just decide I'm done.
Apparently Darius has not been returning his calls.
Not been calls from...
Yeah.
Man, I did put in Cracked Rear View the other day. I went old school, Hootie and the Blowfish.
Uh-huh.
Okay, the album still works for me. I know it took a lot of crap back in the day, but it is really well done.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up, because I've been really, sometimes you're just afraid to show that you support Trump or certain people. That's the way I am with Hootie and the Blowfish.
Check out my Hootie and the Blowfish tattoo.
Yeah, Creed, Hootie, all those. But Hootie more than anyone else. And, I knew, okay, girlfriend Erin likes Hootie a little bit, but she said something the other day and it was like a weight lifted off my chest, and I'd be like, I'd love to go see Hootie now.
It's smiley Southern rock.
Yeah.
Is what it is. And yes,
so fun.
There's hokey elements to it.
They're touring again too, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically I think it's like the 30-year anniversary of Cracked Rear View, and so that's why you're getting them touring again.
When I was in the golf business, they're huge golf fans.
Oh, yeah.
And they were going to hire me to do their Augusta, and then it got... unfortunately, weather came through and they had to cancel it. But talking to those guys, they're just such great guys. And I only got to talk to them on the phone. I was looking forward to meeting them, though.
I only know the one song. Were they that big?
Yeah.
I don't want to be on here.
Oh,
I just know that one.
You just start with the first track on the album is a song called Hannah Jane.
Yeah.
And it just fires it up as okay, this is fun. Again, a kind of throwback pop Southern rock kind of sound.
Yeah.
And,
but with that 90s...
You got a weekend. Listen, this is what I want for the weekend. This is what I want out of you, Joe. I want research done. And you are a musical guy.
Listen to Crack Review.
I want you to listen to the entire album, and I would like a review for Monday's show. And I think it'll make Tug smile, make Tug feel better to know that you've taken interest in this. And his best buddy, Darius, who, he loves hanging out with, he'll be able to pass that on to him.
They are best friends. That is true.
It's so nice.
He's probably hanging out with Darius right now.
That's a good idea, yeah.
By the way, yes, Darius Rucker and Tug, they have a common person they know. It's like a security guard, and for some reason that now gets Tug all this access. By the way, Cracked Rear View came out, I feel like I'm doing Kimmer Show all of a sudden, July 5th, 1994. So that's why 30 years, that's why they're going to be out there doing it again. 20 million sold.
I will drop that. I will drop.
Ponder that one. 20 million copies sold.
Yeah, I'll drop money on that concert right now. I'd love to go see that.
9 o'clock hour is brought to you by Southern Exteriors for all of your home needs. Southern Exteriors, southernexteriors.co, not .com, .co. All right, keep that in mind when we move forward here, as again, they bring us the 9 o'clock hour. Southern Exteriors does. I'll get to some audio from The View in just a moment, but there's 29 vulnerable Democrats, Rhino, and there might be some opportunities there if you can find the right type of pressure to put on them, knowing that they could possibly lose their seats if they don't adopt some of the things that we, for the most part, Americans on both sides want to see happen.
Yeah, it is kind of funny to see Democrats who go one way and start talking about the talking points that they're given from Biden, Harris, and whoever the regime is that controls those two puppets. And then to find 30 House Democrats, 29 voted, but there were 30 that kind of sat back and were like, yeah, I don't know which way to go on this because my constituents are saying one thing. My party is telling me to ignore my constituents and go another way. So these vulnerable House Democrats who know that they are up for election in November and could lose their seats are now worried about the border and the party's focus on the migrant crisis and ignoring the migrant crisis.
Well, what's happening is it's becoming popular to say, hey, we got a problem, and then more importantly, we have to do something about it. Because we've had the legislation that'll never get taken up in the Senate that actually gave a bill that had real teeth. And Kamala Harris and Joe Biden continue to talk about, well, that bill that Donald Trump shut down. First off, you had so many outs on that thing. It was at the discretion of the president whether or not to shut down the border. And as we've seen, it wasn't like the Democrats are really interested in shutting down the border. Mm-hmm. And I think the numbers they gave was, well, after 3,000 crossings a day, it becomes at the discretion of the president to shut down the border. That would have been just a fake bill.
Yeah.
Completely fake power bill. So at least these Democrats are now having to address this and now talk about what can we really do in order to secure a re-election for ourselves by pointing out a real problem.
Yeah, and the obvious answer is, hey, we're going to have to vote with Republicans on this for these 30 vulnerable House Democrats, but they weren't the only ones. This is a common sense bill that says we need to deport any illegals, and you want to talk about a mass deportation? Well, the Republicans were saying, here's a bill, and what this will do was deport illegal immigrants who commit sex crimes against women, children, and even men.
Who would vote against this? How many Democrats?
158 Democrats decided, nope, your wives, daughters, sons, children should be allowed to be attacked by illegal immigrants.
Well, they would not be, it would not be a turbo, we're getting rid of you. Like, right, you're out of here. This is how this is going to be. And so what has been so strange about this is that we've like redefined the idea of violent crime because the excuse is always, well, you know, these immigrants, these migrants, they commit less crime by percentage. Okay, that's a silly matter because they should be committing no crime. Yeah. Okay, that's how it should be because if you do commit crime, you should be out of here.
So
you're not a citizen.
I mean, it's that easy, right? And here's one of my favorite stories out of this bill because, like I said, 51 did. 2 of the Democrats that voted against it, one of them was Greg Landsman. He's the Democrat out of Ohio, and we know what's going on in Ohio right now. So they reached out to him and said, we'd like to know why you would vote against, especially knowing what's going on in the communities in Ohio and how many illegals were dumped with sex crimes happening there all the time. Why would you vote against this bill? And he comes back, he goes, oh, the no vote, that was a complete accident. That was an error. We didn't mean to. I definitely intended to vote yes on HR 7909, and I'm submitting a statement to affirm that, and we'll change that vote. It was only after constituents in the area said this is exactly why we don't want Democrats here, and now that he's about to lose his seat there and he's in a big fight, all of a sudden he goes, oh, my constituents want sex, people who are illegal here that commit sex crimes deported. Yeah, I did mean I'm for that too.
How strange does it have to be that you're going with leadership on this?
Yeah.
Now, remember, the top of the Democrat Party is pretty much, hey, all these are potential voters down the road, so we got to keep them all here. You would think that just from a standpoint of how things look, you would say, all right, let's give the Republicans and let's give the Uniparty a little bit of a victory here by, all right, fine, we'll deport the ones that are bad.
Yeah.
They look at it as, no, we can't deport any of them. So it is those vulnerable Democrats sitting in these districts that are dealing with this stuff that are the ones that are screaming, hey, I got a break from leadership here because I will not secure this seat if you don't let me vote with this to get rid of these people that are committing violent crimes.
Yeah, and let me tell you what else is in this bill, H.R. 7909. So as you read through it, the Democrats are sitting here saying, no, it's a racist bill, it's this. Here's what they consider.
Well, then I know it's a good one.
Then you know it's a good one, right?
Anything they call racist, you know it's in your interest.
And here's why they think it's racist, because this bill says any illegal immigrants who admit to domestic violence or sex-related charges or are convicted of them to no longer be admissible into the United States. They say that's racist. Tell me what's racist about not allowing people who are convicted of sex crimes, domestic violence, or sex-related charges to not be allowed to come back into the United States. If we want the best and the brightest coming in, then those are the people we keep out. Democrats are going, no, that's racist. We want criminals. We want people who abuse women. You want to talk about women's rights? How about the right to be able to jog down a trail and not get raped and killed?
This is Idiocracy. If you've ever seen the movie from Mike Judge.
Yes.
This is what we're turning into, where society is quickly accelerating and becoming dumber. Like, we're not having enough smart people in charge of this thing. It's just the dumb, and it keeps going. Think about the conundrum that we're in, that the Democrats have decided, and also some very establishment Republicans have decided, if we bring in a new underclass of people, rather than doing it on merit-based as far as, here, I'm going to bring in a bunch of system engineers, doctors from around the world, whatever, people that can add to society. Right now, the American dream is getting harder and harder to reach. So those people that show up here that are looking for the American dream, they're more upset faster than the immigrant who's here just happy to take his $1,000 a month and work a horrible job.
Yeah.
Like, think about that. That's how you accelerate a lower end of expectations versus somebody who comes here looking to be a doctor.
Yeah, that's the weird part about it. And of course, one of our favorite people, Pramelia J.O. Paul, this is her. Listen to this. I shouldn't be too surprised. The weaponization of the crime of domestic violence is appearing to be a time-honored tradition for Republicans. Yeah, I'm sorry that we are weaponizing domestic violence and saying we don't want illegal immigrants that want to beat up women, men, children, and others, or rape them or do anything. We're weaponizing that. We're vilifying them for that. Yeah, I'm sorry that we have morality that says, you know what, Miss J. Paul, the last thing I want in this world is to have someone here who's illegal that would come and hurt you or your family. Oh, I'm so sorry that we're weaponizing that against you.
This is the breakdown of society, in that because you're a citizen, there are things that you have that the government is obligated to give you. If you go out and commit a violent crime, Rhino, you will stand trial of your peers and you will be judged accordingly. When you have someone who's not from this country, you're not able to get the same legal representation, because again, it's not a situation where you are entitled to it because you're not a U.S. citizen.
Correct.
Our laws of our land do not apply to you any longer. And so,
but they should.
The problem ends up being is that the left has made it to a point where U.S. citizenship is not special. That's the standpoint. And open borders are fine. And so if you don't have any sovereignty in these regards, you don't really have a country any longer.
Yeah, and
they're fine with that.
I would love to ask people what you think about that. What do you think about the fact that they're saying we should allow everybody to come here regardless? We are open. We are on the melting pot. We shouldn't even have any kind of border whatsoever. Don't check. Don't worry about allowing people in. Just let them come in, because that's what Democrats truly want, is to not have any checks and balances on the people coming in. So are you okay with that? And should they be able to do what they're doing in Springfield, Ohio, and throw you out of your rental home or your apartment because they'll make more money from the government giving it to people who aren't supposed to be here? When they bring in 20 million people, how will that affect you and your life and your family? I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. It's a bad idea.
I don't think there's enough veteran groups that are getting a chance to highlight that this is what's happening in these smaller communities. And let's face it, if you own rental property and you have, let's say, a handful of migrants and they've got $5,000 for a place that normally costs about $800, yeah, you're going to run out who is ever in there, because that government money just keeps coming.
Right.
And so that's and it sounds cruel. But that's the extremes of what is going on now, where a lot of these people that are on fixed incomes or on disability, and now they're losing their homes because the government is basically putting in people that have just gotten here and they're backed by federal money.
Yeah, the government will tell you, if you're an American citizen and I had 3 people in my house, 5 people in my house, 6 people in the house, and only gave them a cot, or if I'm a landlord and I said, hey, yeah, you guys could put 10 people in here, each one of you will get a cot, and each one of you pay $600, the government would come down and throw me out as a slumlord and tell me I got to get out of there. But in their mind,
but if you do it to these people, they're potential voters down the road. They're like, way to go, sir.
This is great. And that's what's happening. So they will not take 7 homeless veterans and say, hey, look, what if we took this house that you can rent for $2,400 a month, but you took these 6 veterans and we gave them areas in this house to sleep, whether they were cots or divided areas, and then we give them money, like let's say $800 a month, in order to take care of other things they need, like food and maybe the ability to get to a job. But they don't do that. Why? Because they want to bring in illegals and elect the same. So regardless of what happens, our veterans that may have been in Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, that are hurt or homeless, they don't get an opportunity. But people who are like really bad people, some of them are okay. They're allowed to do that for free, and they weren't born here. They didn't fight for this country. They haven't done anything for us.
Well, that's the frustration of what goes on when you manage to go into these smaller communities. And I know Springfield, Ohio it's an extreme case because it's only 2,000 people, but you suddenly drop 1,000 in there, and they don't have, from a living standpoint, they don't have the space to house that many people. Suddenly it starts getting real Lord of the Flies really quick.
Really quick.
You start having people starting to really fight for resources. And so when anyone tells you, like, oh, look, they went and got geese out of the pond.
Right.
It's like, okay, yeah, because this is what's happening there.
It's what's happening there.
It's just not enough for everybody.
And you know, one real quick thing too, the reality is that these people who miss one rent payment, these landlords are throwing out people who have been working hard and need help. They throw them out and bring people in to go ahead, and they don't care that the government gets to pay them. They don't help
it's money to them.
Yeah, they don't help the citizen.
But they're also in the struggle situation. You know, they're the ones that, especially if you went through the COVID era and you were a landlord and you knew some of the price controls that the CDC illegally were putting on people, where you didn't even have to get paid rent.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of stuff where it's like, you know what? If I get my get back, which is now the government's going to pay me for this, I'm going to get my get back.
Right.
Because you basically kept me from making money for the better part of 2 years. It's a Morning Extra right here on Extra 106.3. The 9 o'clock hour is brought to you by Southern Exteriors. Visit them at southernexteriors.co. When we get back, we'll get to the headlines, and also friend of show Carolyn Ryan's going to give us an update on what the election board is going through as they are getting ready to meet here in a matter of moments. This is the Morning Extra.
Extra 106.3 is the only station in Atlanta to bring you unedited news, information, and updates. With an all-star lineup of local and network voices, Extra is committed to being the station you need during the biggest election of our lifetime.
This presidential election is unlike any other.
Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station is Extra 106.3 FM, and listen across Georgia on the Extra app.
My fellow Americans, our yards are in troubled times. Unwanted weeds are crossing fence lines across our great nation, and we need to put a stop to it. No more college football Saturdays spent mowing the lawn. No, sir. Let's turf it with ultra premium artificial grass from ATL Turf Co. They're Atlanta and North Georgia's first choice for premium turf solutions, from incredible lawns to custom putting greens. Let's make your yard great again with a free consultation at atlturfco.com.
This time of year, there are 2 things you can't stop: the leaves falling off the trees and the prices falling at Solomon Brothers Jewelers. If you are planning a fall wedding, birthday, or anniversary, there's never been a better time to visit Solomon Brothers Jewelers than right now. Percentage Week is back for 1 week only, September 16th through the 22nd. This is your chance to save up to 60% on engagement rings, wedding bands, earrings, necklaces, bracelets, and more. Everything in all 3 of our showrooms will be discounted up to 60% off. Now's the best time to save on the engagement ring and wedding bands of your dreams. Choose from all the top designers in the industry, or say I love you with a beautiful pair of diamond earrings or a tennis bracelet. Remember, no matter the price, you'll find something nice at Solomon Brothers. So visit us for Percentage Week, September 16th through the 22nd, going on in all 3 of our showrooms in Buckhead, Alpharetta, and Sharpsburg. Or shop online at SolomonBrothers.com. Solomon Brothers Jewelers, the preferred jeweler of the Atlanta Braves.
What's up, Atlanta? It's Ben Burnett, host of the Weekend Ben Burnett Show. Each and every weekend, right here on Extra 106.3, we unpack all the week's events. We talk about all the issues with a local Atlanta-based flavor. You can catch me each and every weekend, Saturdays at 2 and Sundays at noon. If you ever miss an episode, you can go to the podcast park or wherever you download all of your content, and I'll be right there. Thanks for listening to the Ben Burnett Show, proudly brought to you by Butler Snow.
At Nelson Elder Care Law, we understand that family is everything. That's why we prioritize your family's future with personalized asset protection solutions. Call us today to schedule your legacy planning meeting and discover how our team can tailor our services to meet your family's unique needs, ensuring a secure and worry-free future. NelsonElderCareLaw.com.
Hi, this is Ben.
And I'm Walt from Horizon Background Screening.
I would say anyone who's working in any industry could use our services.
A couple of the clients that people tend to not even think about are churches, volunteer organizations. We do a lot of background checks for referee associations. Anybody who's going to be around kids or older adults or anybody vulnerable, you really need to do a background check that includes a criminal history, a sex offender registry search, and anything else that's really relevant to your organization, just to make sure that the people who you're putting in touch with, kids and other vulnerable people, are who you think they are, and that you're not putting your clientele at risk.
So we're going to help you reduce your risk. We're going to help you hire the right person on the front end so that you don't spend all this time with training and all those kind of things and then realize that wasn't a good hire.
The best way for people to find us is on our website. A quick Google search of Horizon Background Screening, or look at us at horizonscreening.com.
Central Heating and Air Conditioning wants you to know the start of the new season is the perfect time to ensure your home's comfort for the fall and winter. Don't wait like most people do to have your HVAC system serviced. Your home should have maintenance twice a year. Maintenance helps keep your furnace running at peak efficiency and extends the life of your equipment. Turn to the experts for your system's maintenance at 770-GET-HEAT or centralheat.com. Central Heating and Air Conditioning can fix what ails your house and possibly your family with home ventilation and air quality products. Central has packages designed around health using variable speed, fresh air ventilation, air cleaners, air purifiers, dehumidifiers, and more. Carrier products, carrier warranty, and carrier peace of mind. Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta Carrier expert since 1947 and one of the few second-generation locally owned HVAC companies in Atlanta. Call 770-GET-HEAT or go to centralheat.com.
We're smart, we care. We're Central Heating and Air.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines. Presented by RBM of Atlanta, your Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
All right, here are your top stories in the state of Georgia for today, Friday, September 20th. Vice President Kamala Harris will be making a campaign stop in Atlanta today to discuss women's health and reproductive rights. The visit comes after 2 women died from complications related to the abortion pill. The women, who were carrying healthy pregnancies, took over-the-counter abortion pills without a doctor's care and died due to complications. 27-year-old Edward Huffman III is being charged with raping at least 7 women and at least 1 child. Clayton County investigators are calling Huffman a serial rapist and say that detectives learned that Huffman drugged his victims and then raped, sodomized, and performed a number of degrading acts on the women before posting the videos on a porn site as sleep porn. Police say there may have been more victims out there. Huffman was denied bond by a Clayton County judge. And in sports, Matt Olson homered twice. Chris Sale won his major league leading 18th game as the Braves beat the Cincinnati Reds 15-3 yesterday. The Braves remain 2 games behind the New York Mets for the final wild card spot. They will try to extend their 2-game win streak tonight when they head to Miami to take on the Marlins. Charlie Morton will be on the mound for the Braves. First pitch scheduled for 7:10. You can catch all the action on our sister station, 680 The Fan.
This is the Morning Extra right here on Extra 106.3. Lawson Rhino, no tug today. He's a little bit under the weather. We'll get a chance to get him back on the show on Monday. And joining us on the show, you can always follow her at Carolyn Ryan TV, is a noted friend of show, journalist, TV personality, Carolyn Ryan. Carolyn, how you doing this morning?
Hey,
Hi, good morning. I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Very good, very good. Let's start right here because I think this is always something that we've been pretty plugged in on with the state election board and some of the changes that have been discussed in trying to secure our elections for 2024. But for the rest of the audience, what is the update? Because I understand we're having another meeting today, and that'll be followed by a number of press conferences and a chance to see what exactly is going on with that state elections board.
Hey, yeah, absolutely. So today is going to be a really big day, state election board meeting at 9 o'clock this morning, and they're going to be talking about and voting on a series of rule changes that would go into effect for this election, for the 2024 election. In fact, it'd go into effect right before early voting begins, which, believe it or not, is less than a month away here in Georgia. I think it starts October 15th. Early voting begins here. So really important rule changes. Just to give a recap, so there's 11 in total. I think one of the biggest ones that folks are really cheering for and keeping an eye on is this reconciliation rule that essentially would require poll workers to hand count the ballots at the end of the night just to make sure that the total number of ballots matches the number of people who walked through the door that day. So it's, our bank tellers do it. Any business would do that to reconcile at the end of the day what you're looking at. Of course, the AJC describes this as, quote, a contentious rule proposal, but pretty basic stuff. There's another big one that people are talking about today that would require a poll manager and 2 witnesses to record the ballot count from the tabulation tapes on the recap forms. And if you remember in 2020, Voter GA found all sorts of falsified tally sheets and missing information on those forms. So this is saying you got to have 3 people with eyes on that process. A couple other big ones today they're voting on publicly. They want the registered voters, the voter rolls, to be posted and made public before early voting begins. So there's been a lot of issues around our voter rolls. Sometimes it can be difficult to get your hands on those. Sometimes you're charged for those voter rolls, and we've got a lot of great patriots on the ground that have been really keeping a close eye on our voter rolls. So streamlining that process, making our voter rolls public and accessible before early voting begins. And then another really big one is requiring absentee ballots to be tracked through the mail. So really keeping a close eye on those absentee ballots. So a lot of really big, important rules that are being considered and weighed today. A ton of patriots are going to be out there. They're hoping to get like 1,000 people out there to support these rule changes, and then a big press conference will follow at 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Carolyn Ryan joining us here on the Morning Extra, and I'm glad you brought up the absentee ballot tracking. Now they're saying it's going to cost $4 per voter, so we can't do that. They're complaining that, if they hand count ballots at the end of the night, it'll just drag it on forever. And the reality, and Janelle King did a great job just saying, we do this all the time. Just count. You have 3 poll workers, count them. It's small precincts, count and be done. Not a big deal. But this is what the Democrats want to do, is make it seem like the extremist MAGA extremists, and Janelle King's not one of them, we know that, but
but she's been labeled that now.
They are going to do whatever they can to deny the election and not certify results. And they go back to one of the first rules that we talked about, which was that there needs to be a reasonable inquiry, and when that happens, we should be able to get the information that we need, kind of like a freedom of information when it came to voting. That's not true that anybody's doing this just to deny certification, is it?
No, absolutely not. And with that rule that you just mentioned that has already passed, it's interesting to note that our Secretary of State, you mentioned Democrats, Rhino, but our Secretary of State, Republican, quote unquote, Brad Raffensperger, is fighting. He has fought that, and he's saying that by conducting a reasonable inquiry into these potential discrepancies before you certify, he's saying that undermines voter confidence. So it makes sense of that mental gymnastics, of how he's trying to make that argument. But we have some of our top Republicans in our government here in Georgia who are fighting some of these common sense rule changes, and you have to ask yourself why. And I'll say, part of this press conference that these patriots are going to have today, and again, these are just grassroots voters, people who are concerned citizens here in Georgia who have really all coalesced and come together in this one goal of securing our elections. They're holding this press conference today at 1. One of the big topics they're going to be talking about is what they call a cover-up on the part of Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, that he has really impeded a lot of their efforts over the last 4 years with lawsuits teaming up with, for example, Mark Elias, who is the DNC kind of notorious big dog election. He works on behalf of the DNC to fight election integrity efforts across the country in all these big battleground states. He is teaming up with our Secretary of State to fight some of these rule changes. And with regard to some of the fraud and the evidence that our grassroots investigators have discovered over the last 4 years, the Secretary of State himself has covered up a lot of that and really impeded the investigations. And you have to ask yourself why. So today at this press conference, even if you can't make it down to the Capitol, guys, and for all of the folks listening today, although we hope you can make it down to the Capitol, if you can't, follow Georgians for Truth on X, and I'll be posting a lot of the updates as well. And they record these press conferences. They're going to break down exactly what they're talking about, how Brad Raffensperger in their estimation has allegedly covered up a lot of this stuff, and why is he fighting some of these common sense measures? They're going to be talking about all of that today at 1 o'clock.
Carolyn Ryan is our guest on the Morning Extra. That's always the first question I have is why are we fighting these things? But then the next one comes back to, I want to make sure that when I take part in an election that it's secure and that the information's good and my vote is counted. And I think so much of this for me, Carolyn, is that I felt like the last several elections I've taken part in, there's been gamesmanship. There's been ways that we've had systems taken advantage of. And as I've said, going into 2024, we need to make sure that we're handling this ahead of time, not after, because after is way too late.
Yes. No, you're absolutely right. And I think we've done, you look at the RNC and you look at some of these big organizations who are vowing, we're going to have all of these, they've been recruiting lawyers, and that's all great. And I hope that, we're seeing lawsuits by the RNC preemptively made in some of these battleground states to clean voter rolls, for example, and some of these other measures. And I think that that's going to make a difference. But one of the speakers also at this press conference today is going to be a guy. Have you guys ever heard of Marley Hornick?
Yes.
She's out of New York, and she's done some really great work with auditing and with her organization. I believe it's called United Sovereign Americans. They're going to have a representative there who's going to be talking about some of that stuff, to your point, Los, and kind of preemptively looking to potentially injunctions or lawsuits that could prevent a problem before it happens. But listen, I think, these rule changes and even you go back to the election laws that our legislature passed since 2020, I think all of these measures are incremental steps in the right direction. Do they solve all of our problems? Like, am I confident saying, hey, 2024 in Georgia is going to be 100% safe and secure, no problems? I'm not confident in saying that, but I think we've taken steps in the right direction. I think it will hinder, maybe it will deter some of the fraud and certainly cut down on some of the errors that we may have seen otherwise. But do they solve all of our problems? No. At the end of the day, I think we still have these insecure voting machines that are susceptible to hacking. We still have those in place. And I think no matter who wins this next election, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat, the fight goes on, right? Because, we don't want to be in a situation where, let's say Donald Trump does win and say, okay, all of our problems are solved. Our guy won the election. We're good. No, this fight goes on until we can have, paper ballots hand counted at the precinct level on security grade paper, single day voting. Until we can reach that goal, we're going to have issues and we need to stay on top of it.
Carolyn Ryan joining us here on the Morning Extra, and I love that you said that because I don't care if Trump wins or Harris wins. One side or the other is going to complain about what happens, and that's the way it always works. But I want to go back to the voting machines because right now they're testing Dominion voting machines in all the precincts, and one of the big things that Brad Raffensperger, I think he had plenty of time to do was test these machines, and he even came out over a year ago. In fact, I believe it was right after the midterms where he said they need an update, but wouldn't do the update till after the 2024 election. We've had plenty of times to get ready for this election, and that's what scares me more than anything else is I've been misled about this, including the testing of the vulnerability of these machines.
Yeah, and a lot of people will point to it's really just a song and dance. Raffensperger goes to these counties, he goes out, he has some of the, people from the media there, the AJC, and he says, look, see, we tested, everything looks great. But what the reality is none of us really know. And that's the whole point here is like with machines, we don't know. As humans, we can't read QR codes. Machines can read QR codes. We don't know what software updates will be happening between now and then. We don't know what that looks like. We just don't know. And it's intentionally chaotic. It's intentionally, it's not transparent.
Yeah.
And I think that is the bottom line is even with these testing of these machines, who's testing it? How is it being tested? What does it prove? Like, he just goes out and does a little song and dance with the media and says, see, look, it's great. Well, I'm sorry, but I can't take your word for that, Secretary of State, because you have gaslit us for 4 years on the state of our elections, telling us our voter rolls are the cleanest in the nation. Our 2020 was the safest and most secure election in Georgia history, and on and on and on. And the reality is none of that is true. And I think I would hope most common sense voters see through that as well.
But how do you justify the fact that, these machines are safe and good when you didn't do an update? You would think that you need an update to fix these problems, and they've had problems, and you didn't do the update, and now you're testing them? Of course they're going to look fine. They're going to look the same way they were before we had problems.
Right. And even if he did put that patch in, even if he did, it still wouldn't be secure. We still don't know what that patch did. It's still a machine that can be hacked. And I continue to go back to our own governor, Governor Kemp, being caught on camera. It's still up on my Twitter page. It has like 1.6 million views of him saying, you give anybody a machine, it can be hacked. You give anybody an election machine, it can be hacked. And so update or no update. But you're right, Rhino. We should be pointing that out. But the point is, even a patch, had he done it, is still not going to make people feel comfortable and confident with our elections.
Well, you asked for transparency, and that's the word that I keep going back to. The idea that we've integrated these machines into our voting systems, and yet we're told in certain states, and at times including this one, well, it's going to take hours into the night for us to figure out who won. Like, wait a minute.
Right.
How is that supposed to work?
Yeah, and that was one of Raffensperger's big arguments against, this rule change of reconciling at the end of the day. He's saying, well, that's going to delay the count. And it was one of their arguments as well with the reasonable inquiry before you certify. They say, oh, well, it's going to delay. Well, how long did it take for us to get the results in Fulton County in 2020? It's already not. We're not getting the results immediately, even as it is. So what do you mean delay? I mean, they're already. You've got government agencies saying, hey, don't expect to get the results in 2024. It's going to take some time. So they're already kind of grooming us to be prepared not to have the results on election night, even now in advance for 2024. So if that's the primary, argument that the liberals make for using machines, right there, we already don't get immediate results with the machines. So let's do it. Let's do it right. Let's restore confidence in our elections. And by the way, you all know this so well. We've talked about this so much here on this show and other places is Democrats were kind of the OG opponents of these machines as Raffensperger and Kemp were introducing them. They were the ones who were fighting it. So I think everybody knows, and there's so many Democrats on tape saying these machines can be hacked. They're not reliable. And so this is across the board. That is why voters don't feel confident in our elections. And we need to get back to having confidence and having transparency. That's the bottom line. These are our elections. They don't belong to the government. They belong to us.
Carolyn Ryan joining us here on the Morning Extra, and I don't know how I feel about the elections. I don't know if I'll feel safe, but one thing that I wanted to talk to you about as well is your brother-in-law and what he did at the school in Appalachia. Talk about what happened and your relation to the shooting.
Yeah, so gosh, this is another big issue, isn't it? So obviously the Appalachia, the tragic shooting that took place there recently, my brother-in-law was actually the teacher in the classroom that was targeted, that was shot up. And so we got that text message, our family, at 10:28, I believe it came in that morning. Hey, active shooter. It was gruesome. It was terrible. It just said blood everywhere, dead people. And it was just very short text, obviously in the midst of an emergency, but he really did act very heroic. Our family feels blessed that he was there in those moments with those children at that time. Little Christian Angulo, who his funeral is today, scheduled at 11 o'clock this morning. My brother-in-law held him and tried to stop the bleeding, took his shirt off and put pressure on the wounds, and Christian passed away right in front of him. So he's had a really, really tough time processing all of that, asking, did I do enough? Could I have done more? And our response to him has been, we believe, God spared you and put you in front of little Christian to give him comfort and aid in the time, that he was taking his final breaths. And so it's really been a tough few couple of weeks, and I know it'll be really difficult today at that funeral for Christian and the whole school. It's just obviously such a tragic situation.
I can't imagine, considering that the trauma that you go through when you see this sort of stuff, or to be right out in front of it, how much is that community, because we've seen all the surrounding high schools in the area really rallying to support, but how has that community been coping, working with knowing that this trauma is going to last for quite a while?
Yeah, it really is. I've asked my brother-in-law about that. I actually asked him yesterday because he sent us a text message that said Marvel Studios came and visited the kids, and I guess The Rock showed up, and he sent some pictures of The Rock, and to see some of the kids kind of being able to just laugh and get excited, and to see that kind of help boost their morale was really nice to see. They, I guess, start school back on Monday, according to my brother-in-law. He's also a coach on the football team. He said the football team started practicing this week. So they're trying to slowly ease back into life post this shooting. And I think it's helped for them to have time to not feel like they're forced to go back into that situation. Obviously, they're going to be apprehensive, but my brother-in-law said the kids seem to be doing okay. They seem to be doing pretty good. And I know it sounds cliche, but really, I know for our family and for my brother-in-law, he has asked for prayers, and we have been covering him in prayer. And I think the community at large, you see some of those vigils that they held, the candlelight vigils, and to see how they're using prayer, I think that has really helped in this interim as well.
Yeah, we'll continue praying too, and tell him that we love what he does. We love what he does every single day for those kids, and I know the guilt that he's probably going through, but he was a hero that day, so we appreciate him.
He was. Yeah, absolutely. I'll relay that. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Carolyn Ryan, it's going to be a big day. Thank you so much for your time today.
Hey, guys, I appreciate it. Happy Friday. Please follow us for updates. I'll be posting updates of the state election board at Carolyn Ryan TV. Follow Georgians for Truth. They'll have updates as well. And have a blessed weekend, guys. Good to be with you.
And there she goes, Carolyn Ryan, friend of the show. Get an update a little bit later this afternoon on the state election board. A news conference is scheduled for 1 o'clock to give an update on what the rule changes are, what they've decided. And again, we'll be watching that to see how that plays out. And we'll obviously be very active on social media as well. When we get back, the Morning Extra will follow up and finish up with our final segment of the week. Just going to let you know, there's something cool that CBS is doing over the weekend on Sunday morning. You might want to check it out if you're into music. We'll talk about that next as we close up the Morning Extra right here on Extra 106.3 FM.
And remember, she hasn't gotten a vote. She's never gotten a single vote. So this is the party of to save our democracy. Dear Lord.
The Kimmer Show every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
Hey, it's Rhino here, and guess what I'm doing this weekend? I'm giving away 2 Glock 43s, the MOS, which is a fantastic handgun, and it's one of the best built ones, and you can have it for free if you come down and hang out with me at True Prep in Marietta on Cobb Parkway. It's their 13th anniversary, and they're holding a party. And this party is not just so you can get a free hot dog, free chips, and free drinks, which they will also have. But it's a fun event where you can meet some of the vendors, find some of the newest and greatest technologies that are out there in order to help protect and save your family and your lives. That's what's important about making sure that you go to True Prep in Marietta on Cobb Parkway. Now, if you come this weekend, it's even better because they have a unbelievable sale going on. I've seen some of the products that they've got on sale. You need to come by and check it out as well. You need to go to their website. Check out everything they have, because when it comes to free dry food, when it comes to first aid kits, water filtration, firearms, firearm accessories, and ammo, well, they have it at the lowest price around. They're locally owned and operated by Matt and Joey, two Georgia Tech engineers that graduated from Georgia Tech right here, and they've kept their business here, so support them. Tell them that Rhino sent you down there. Amy, all the experts down at True Prep, they're also there for you. Get everything you need. This weekend's a great time. I'll be there this weekend from noon till who knows when, so come by, say hello to me. I'd love to meet you, hang out with you as well. That's True Prep in Marietta on Cobb Parkway. You can get all the information online as well at trueprep.com. That's TRU prep.com. Prepare today for a worry-free tomorrow with True Prep.
This fall, the gridiron calls, which means you'll be road tripping to games across the South, and you'll need a reliable ride to get you there. And Subaru of Gwinnett has the vehicle for you. But a new car, truck, or SUV from Subaru of Gwinnett is about way more than just getting to the games. It's about getting the family home. It's about getting to work safely, but it's also about getting the most out of every adventure. If you're driven by an adventurous heart, the 2025 Subaru Outback shares your spirit with standard symmetrical all-wheel drive and up to 32 miles per gallon. Or maybe it's the all-new 2025 Subaru Forester. It holds the road with standard symmetrical all-wheel drive, and it holds everything you need for the tailgate. And no matter where adventure takes you, it starts on Satellite Boulevard in Duluth with the amazing staff at Subaru of Gwinnett. They'll help you find the Subaru that you'll love and be there every step of the way for everything you need. Start your shopping online at SubaruofGwinnett.com and let your adventurous mind run wild. Then stop in for a test drive on Satellite Boulevard in Duluth.
This is an announcement to all United States vehicle owners who own a 2003 or newer vehicle with a manufacturer's warranty about to expire, or no warranty coverage at all. With a struggling economy and the cost of living on the rise, Endurance is now offering an affordable, low-cost vehicle coverage plan to the general public. As of today, you could be one of millions of drivers that now may qualify to have your vehicle protected under this coverage and have all future covered auto repairs paid directly to the repair shop for you. You pick your plan. You pick your deductible. You even pick the repair shop. Roadside service, towing, and rental coverage is included. Get your vehicle protected now and save your wallet from costly vehicle repairs. A toll-free number has been established for you to call for your free 5-minute quote and to see if you qualify. The number to call is 800-298-9383. 800-298-9383. Again, that's 800-298-9383. Coverage, deductibles, and claims may vary. For details, go to endurancewarranty.com.
Your voice, your vote. And this year it matters more than ever. So for the unbiased election coverage that affects your family and your community, trust the voices that matter when it matters the most. Xtra 1063 and the Xtra app.
Welcome back. It is the Morning Xtra right here on Xtra 1063, the final segment of the broadcast week. It's Los, it's Rhino, no Tug. He'll be back on Monday, assuming he finds health. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Like Colin Wheat, our general sales manager, whenever you hear us joke around about our, Colin Wheat and what he does around here, this week he's been doing a really good job of getting everybody sick, apparently.
Yeah.
Because there's like 3 different sales guys that are out, and now Tug. And Tug is a buddy of his, so
yeah,
he's like
he
spreading the plague everywhere. No.
Colin's gained a lot of weight, and I wonder if that has to do with it.
Maybe
not
the
sure.
stress.
Yeah, the stress and everything. But he looks like, he hasn't shaved. He looks sick and in and out of the office. His
kids were sick too.
Yeah.
So it's like they're just passing it around at his house, and then what does he do? He shows up here. If this was like the COVID era, then they would have shunned him into staying home.
Yeah.
But no. Now everybody shows up to work sick.
Yeah, it's and we don't want to get sick. We've done so well by taking care of our health.
We always make it a point. All right, if you're not feeling well, just broadcast from home.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm worried about catching anything you got. It's more of it's inconvenient to go into a weekend and go, why am I sick? I don't get to do anything this weekend.
Yeah, I hope Tug gets better, but we can blame Colin now.
It is Colin.
We traced it back to patient zero.
Right. He is the lab. He's the lab rat who caused all this.
I've tried to tell Tug, though, Colin's no one's friend.
No, he's not.
He's not.
He might come across as friendly. Everyone knows that person in the office where he, kind of gives you the high five and the slap on the back and gives you the finger guns. Hey, how you doing today?
Yeah.
But he's not really your friend.
No.
And that's Colin.
He turned around like Tug was leaving, and I saw him making faces at Tug as he left.
Yeah, as in like, I got him sick. Just wait.
Yep, laughing about it.
No, poor Tug. He's probably, if we called Tug live, he's probably still sleeping because, he's been sick.
I hope so.
I hope
you
he's
know
got a
how
lot
it
of
is,
rest.
though. You know he woke up at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Just not feeling well,
It's
coughing.
what happens.
Oh, it's the worst.
Even when I'm sick and I try and sleep in, it's always Saturday morning. It's like 6:30, and that's like sleeping into us. I'm like, I made it to 6:30 finally.
So I put together Janelle's show for her, usually Friday afternoons, and sometimes I'll do it if she sends it early, like on a Wednesday. I'll do it Thursday because I'm like, I just want to be done on Friday, and that's it. It's my weekend.
Right.
So last week I made sure because she sent it early. I'm like, it's done on Thursday, loaded in, ready to go. I am sleeping in Saturday. Don't have to worry about a thing. And at 5 a.m. I was up and like walking around.
Why?
Why?
Yeah. Well, it's like the mafia. This is the life we've chosen.
Yeah.
Or it's been chosen for us. Either way.
Yeah.
It's just kind of how it goes.
I'm sleeping in this Saturday. Now I'll be up at 5.
So we had Even Flow playing on the way back. That was from Pearl Jam 10. And that was a big song, but not the biggest on the album. So there's something cool that's going on. Oh, you didn't know this? Oh,
what was the biggest song? I assumed it was Even Flow.
Probably Jeremy.
Really?
Jeremy was probably the biggest hit on that album.
I've heard Even Flow. I think that one's stood the test of time a little bit more.
I'd have to. I wonder.
And I would say too, Alive probably also is.
Yeah, I know Alive.
Like Alive and Jeremy are probably bigger songs on that
Even
album.
Flow was on Guitar Hero 3.
And that's how your exposure to it.
Probably my favorite video game as a kid.
Okay. So I don't really plan to watch a lot of Sunday morning television. Like I'll scan through just to see who's on the shows and all right, what politician and what are the marching orders? Because that's what I do. Like Clay Travis reads the New York Times because he wants to know what they're doing.
Right.
Buck
I read
Sexton,
CNN. I go through them all.
Yeah, Buck Sexton does Morning Joe. I typically will watch some of the Sunday morning shows to say, all right, what is the message across the platforms? Because that's when the Democrats get their marching orders.
Yeah.
They go out Sunday and they start saying what they're saying. Okay, CBS Sunday morning is not doing that. Instead, they're interviewing Pearl Jam, which I thought was really cool. I want you to take a listen. This is going to be Eddie Vedder, and he's basically talking about how he's trying out for this band, and their bassist and their drummer immediately recognize, hey, this dude. And remember, this is now a band that has been selling out and doing everything they've been doing for the better part of almost 40 years. So this is one of those classic rock bands now. Take a listen to Eddie Vedder talking about how Pearl Jam came together.
I'm doing those midnight shifts security, so when I went for surf in the morning, I remember it being super foggy and one of those days where you think maybe I won't go out. But I had the music in my head, the instrumental, and just kind of wrote it, and then I was still wet when I hit record.
When you heard what he sent back, what did you think?
I listened to it, and then I remember I left and went and got a coffee, and then I came back and I listened to it again, and then I remember calling Stone and I said, you need to come over here right now.
Bassist Jeff Ament and guitarists Stone Gossard and Mike McCready flew Vedder up to Seattle to audition.
There was just, it was like you felt it. Like you were like, oh, this is what it is.
Yeah.
I was like, this is heaven.
That is so cool that he basically sent them the track for what would become Alive, and they went, yeah, we got to bring this dude in and hire him.
Yeah.
Like he's going to be our lead singer for now this iconic band. I just didn't know that story. I knew kind of how they came together.
That's pretty
But
cool.
I didn't know that was how it was, or he went to go surf and in his mind thought of, here's how I do Alive, and then sent it back to them on a tape.
Yeah, I had no idea about that. And I love Eddie Vedder, and, Aaron's a big Pearl Jam fan, so, we love Eddie Vedder. I don't enjoy his politics, but I think he's
I separate
unbelievable.
the two. I think it's
have
awesome.
He's too amazing. You can't miss out on that music.
I'm going to check that out Sunday morning. I'm going to make it a point to see that interview just because it's now a part of musical history.
Yeah.
And so that's how it
Now I'm gonna
happened.
go
Like,
watch it.
okay,
Yeah.
really cool. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thank you to Joe. Thank you to Rhino. Thank you to Tug as well. Hopefully the whole, he calls it the Hee Haw Gang. We're not going to be back on Monday all together, but because I'm going off for fall break. The kids want to do something. We got to do something. It's just kind of how it goes. But I'll check in. Maybe call into the show here or there. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But anyway, thank you for listening this week. Check us back out 6 to 10 on Monday. Y'all take care now. You hear?
Hey, it's Flounder, and The Kimmer Show is live every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m.
The Associated Press headline reads, Trump expected to tie Harris to chaotic Afghanistan war withdrawal in speech to National Guard.